Thanks for coming by and enjoying. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Annie.
I'm Dylan.
Thank you for joining us. This week we have a fantastic guest, Sperg Snake, with us. He joins us as we rant, rave, and ramble about games that we like, occasionally games that we don't like. But this time, self-admittedly, this has bumped up from my top 10 to my top 5. And we ask the question, what is this game?
This game...
Prey 2017. Oh man, this is such a good game.
I really enjoyed this game, and I was completely unaware of it. Doing a little research, it does seem to be a sleeper hit that not many people know about.
Oh yeah, it's 100% a cult classic, and it's made by Bethesda. So if you're
it's published by Bethesda. It's made by Arkane Studios, Austin, the Austin division. Back before they had some stumbles and falls and made Redfall.
Yes, and they were responsible for another great game that the name is escaping me at the moment.
Dishonored.
That's the one. Thank you.
Yes, Dishonored and Deathloop. If you like Deathloop, but you know.
But in the sense that it plays similar to Bethesda games, like there's a lot of crafting and story-driven elements, like in New Vegas, there's so much side story, and the world feels lived in because there's just characters doing things. Everybody on Talos, the space station that you're on. I shouldn't have said that right away, huh?
That's okay.
Let's jump right into it. There is a lot to dissect from this. We're on Talos, the space station, which is a big twist from the tutorial.
Yeah,
right.
So we'll start at the very, very beginning of the game, because the game is through and through a story game. It has a lot of action, it has a lot of RPG, it has a lot of other elements to it, but the biggest piece of the entire game is the story. It's feeding you from the second you start the game, the story starts. You wake up as soon as you pick your I guess the sex of your character. You can either be a male or a female, of Morgan Yu, the vice president of TranStar, and you wake up in your apartment in March of 2035, and it's the morning of some sort of interview or something that you're supposed to do to essentially get ready to go into orbit next week so you can go to Talos 1, the space station. So
your brother is big shit, and you are a new recruit.
Yes.
New recruit, but you are definitely, nepotism, because you're going to the Talos as vice president. It's not like you're just starting as an intern or anything. Nope, you're starting as the vice president on the space station. You already have your own office, everything like that. It's quite a big deal. But you wake up, you get the message from your brother. He says, hey, it's good to have you aboard. We're going to shake things up like we used to. So you have a helicopter on the roof, so why don't you head up to the helicopter and we'll take you up there. And the intro with the helicopter, I think, is very, very nicely done. It's very simple. It's a nice tutorial to kind of just give you a in-world view at what the game looks like, or at least what the world looks like that you would be playing in, except you're going to go to space next week, so it's not a big deal. You start off just, flying up on the helicopter, flying over the bay, and something that I really like about this is on the buildings and throughout the way that you're flying on the city, you can see the Bethesda Studios and Arkane Studio production, and then as you land all the way on the building through this glorious flight, you see the words Prey sitting on the building. It's kind of like a diegetic UI welcoming you into the game without it popping up into your screen. And then as soon as you regain your character, or control of your character, all that stuff is gone. So it's just for you, the player. Morgan doesn't see that crap floating there. It's for you. And it's a really nice touch immediately to set the tone.
It's nice.
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
I was going to say, it's very cinematic, the opening to this. It's and it's up to you to look out the window. If you're not paying attention, you miss a lot of this. And if you're not paying attention in this game, you will miss a lot. But I really enjoyed the opening song that accompanies. Like there's like a nice happy song that it says everything's going to be all right in the lyrics. I think something close to that. It's 100% misleading you from the get-go.
So once you touch down on the top of the tower, you're greeted by an operator who tells you that you have a meeting, which you already know. Alex informed you. So you go down there, you meet him in person. He says you look good in the uniform, which you have to wear because now you're officially going on the job. And you're greeted by the security staff who tells you that, you know, you're going in for a sort of questionnaire interview, sort of a performance review test, sort of an all-encompassing, are you good enough to do what we're asking you to do test. So you go into the
tutorial. I love simple, when games give you that simple, you crouch down tutorial. This is the most simplest, basic. This is what your buttons do. Hide. She's hiding behind the chair. We can't see her.
That's such a great part.
The first test is very simple. It's just you have to move 3 boxes out of a hole or move 3 boxes out of a circle. So the 3 boxes come out of the floor. You're supposed to pick them up and knock them out of the circle. And you might have done it in like a second or two, but the people on the other side of the glass don't seem necessarily too impressed. So you're like, okay, whatever. You go to the next test, and it's simple, like Dylan said. In this room, there's not much to, but try to hide the best you can. There's a chair in the room, a couple of glass panels, and a button. So you press the button and hide behind the chair. They're like, well, we can see you, Morgan. And it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? This seems like a setup. So you go to the third chamber, and it's press this button and then run to the other side of the room and press that button as fast as you can. So I thought, well, maybe I can use the game mechanics to do this. So I'm standing on the wall that divides the 2 buttons, and I reach over and I tap the button and I turn around and press the other button. And I think I did it in less than a second, and they still are like, is there any synaptic register at all? Like, do we have the right equipment? They seem like they're mad at me for not doing good enough, and they're like, hey, the mics are on. It's like, oh, Morgan, no, you're doing great. Absolutely perfect. It's the equipment. So can somebody go get me a cup of coffee? And then you go to the last test, which is a sort of psych eval. They want you to answer a couple of questions, such like the trolley questions.
The trolley question. I do love the variation that they did on the trolley question of allow 3 people to die, kill 1 person. And then there was you can jump in front of it and stop it. You can push a fat man in front of it and stop it. So that was, that gave me a giggle of the old trolley morality question of, do you allow 3 people to die? Do you kill 1 person? Oh, and 1 fat man will save everybody.
That quiz that you take has a lot of foreshadowing in it.
If you miss it right there, like you're if you're a visual watcher, I gotta stop saying visual. If you're a watcher, you can notice that now he's being attacked by, there was 1 coffee cup and then there's 2. And before you can even get a chance to really react as Morgan, gas starts coming in there. You see security start shooting whatever just attacked Bellamy, and you're gassed out. So you are now knocked out, and you hear over the transcribe that Alex contacts whoever's still there, and they say she's alive, sedated, or they. I'm gonna try to say they because Morgan can be either gender. So they say Morgan is sedated, so everything is okay. And then you, the player, are like, oh, okay, that was an interesting tutorial. It's not exactly how I thought that was going to end. How did you 2 react whenever this first happened for you?
You first, Dylan.
I missed the little quick, because you're looking at the screen and you can actually see the mimic come up, and like there's a little flash of smoke when it starts impersonating the coffee mug, and I was like, what the hell is that smoke? So nice little jump scare that you see it for a split second, but I was looking at the ink blot there, and it's what happened after that really stuck with me when this whole simulation is unraveled. That's when the storytelling really started for me, where I really got some like this is fascinating.
Right.
So then you wake up the next day, or seemingly the same day. Your alarm clock goes off. It tells you it's the exact same day that you were just at. You wake up, you hit the alarm clock the same way, you grab your transcribe, and, well, Alex doesn't greet you. Well, okay, so something is different here. There's ominous music. Nothing seems the same, even though it is almost exactly the same.
Very much so.
Turns out that, this day seems the same, but it's not. So you walk out into the hallway, and you immediately are confirmed of that by a corpse sitting in the hallway of the woman who greeted you last time, saying, hey, there's a chopper on the roof, basically being like, ooh, aren't you fancy? Have a good day. And now she's sitting on the floor, kind of all skeletalized and goopy, kind of like Bellamy was at the interview you were just doing. You grab the wrench off of her, and you're given your first tutorial tip, basically telling you what the wrench is and how to use it. The wrench is the first weapon you get, and it's also your simplest tool. It's kind of, despite it just being a wrench we can hit things, it's kind of a multi-tool. It'll be your melee weapon, it'll help you interact with things, it'll help you scan for those things that attacked Bellamy. There are plenty of uses for your wrench, despite it just being a wrench.
And I forgot it reproducing after getting Bellamy. That was something that adds I got similar vibes to Dead Space that we covered, but there wasn't like the body horror, more like Alien, where those need humans to reproduce. So getting a different type of horror type internal fear that these things are using us for its reproduction.
And if you didn't catch that in the very beginning, watching after he killed Bellamy, or I guess presumably killed Bellamy, we don't know for sure, but it's probably, I mean, he got his face sucked off. Like Dylan said, the mimic, which is what they're called, does multiply there. But you have to be looking over the desk there and paying very close attention, like I was trying to in that clip. If you don't notice that, it does handhold you in a little bit here. So after you get your wrench, you are contacted by January, who is essentially a robot copy of you, uploaded into a computer, who is trying to give you advice on how to get out of there. Apparently,
for a while, you think it's another human. It's a big reveal to me that January isn't some body on the station, but something on the station that you created as, a variation of your consciousness, which there's a lot of memory loss. And it's explained very well in the plot that the things that make you stronger also make you weaker in the memory because of how the upgrades, how the skill tree of the neuromods work. And I might be jumping a little ahead there, but nice working the skill tree into the story and the research of what we're doing on Talos 1.
No, you actually segued perfectly. You are contacted by January, who tells you that the reason you actually remember yesterday is because instead of a real neuromod, somebody installed a blank one on you. So, instead of it being installed and then removed, wiping your memory of the day, you got nothing removed from you, and you were able to keep the memory. Now you are contacted by January, who lets you know, hey, I'm going to help you get out of here, and I am going to supply you with a neuromod, a real one, that you can choose to, use however you want. And which is a huge aspect of this game, and all of Arkane's good games, is choice. As soon as you escape out of your apartment, which you can do by breaking the glass in your apartment, like to the balcony, or you can break a little window with a fish tank. There's a couple of ways to get out of your apartment right off the bat. Immediately, the first thing you can do is make a choice. Do I go out this way, or do I go out that way? And depending on which way you do, you have to snake through this through the labs, and this whole place is essentially a big soundstage. And they have been simulating this day in March over and over for Morgan for, well, we don't know exactly how long, but there are signs that it's been for several months.
Real quick, I feel like the game takes advantage of you as a player here because you go through your tutorial, then you get gas and you wake up and you have memory of that. That's us for the first time having memory of that. And what wasn't explained right away, and if you don't go out the fish tank and you go out the window, you find out it's not a window. It's a product that TranStar, the parent corporation, makes called Looking Glass. So it looks like you're looking out into an entire city vista, but the second you smash it, like you said, you see behind the scenes and the soundstage that they've had you in, and you find out it's been a long time that they've been doing this with you, like just running the same neuromod experiments over and over.
A really simple example of how long it's been is once you finally get towards your office that we talked about, there is a office next to yours, which used to be Bellamy's office, and it's torn down. It's like they've removed the walls. It's got a rundown computer, a bunch of packed up boxes. It looks like somebody got fired and then they tore down the room. Well, if you check his computer, Morgan, long time ago, says, "Hey, if this goes on too long, why don't you pack up and move down to this lab so you don't have to go back and forth as much, and it'll be easier on you." So
right.
it signifies that, well, I guess it did take too long because he moved downstairs. It was supposed to be like a little bit of time, and for whatever reason, you were constantly reliving this soundstage simulation day, and since us, the player, never lived through it with memory, we never have any idea how long it's been without reading clues and stuff around the station, which is a really good environmental storytelling. There's transcribes, which are the little handheld cell phones you have, which you can use to make not really video calls. It's like a PNG call. You get like a PNG of your face with different emojis, and then you get just audio recording, and then that's basically what you do. And you can pick up these leftover ones throughout the station, and people will be sending them to other people or recording one to themselves or to their lover, and you can learn a lot about the story of the people on Talos just by picking up their leftover belongings or going to their computers and reading their emails. And in fact, there's a couple of achievements for just reading and checking every transcribe on the station.
That was a lot of fun for me. Every transcribe that I came across, and it said press the button to listen to it. Yes, I need to listen. I need more of this story. Danielle's show, was it?
Yes.
She was the one that was the most fascinating, and that actually worked into the plot to find all the transcribes of Danielle's show, because there was a voice activated lock that you need to find more of Danielle's voice to progress in the story.
Yeah, and you find out what she was doing personally a lot. She was in a relationship with somebody else, a higher up, which was, I think, like a no-no. And
yeah, you don't want that in any business, really. You don't want to hire up, and like if it's the same rank, it can usually be swept aside, looked away. But if it's different ranking, then it's a conflict of interest sometimes.
Especially in the research that this company's doing, it's the right hand doesn't know what the left is doing.
Everything is very top secret. Even some people working on the soundstage project of keeping you in the simulation didn't really know why or what they were doing. They just knew, hey, this is what we do. We come down here every day, we shoot Morgan up, we run through this fucking bullshit, and then we take it out, and then we reset tomorrow. Right. Why? I don't know. That's what we do.
That's a commentary on just people following orders. They're just in lab coats doing what they got to do, making their money, getting paid. They just know they're supposedly doing a good thing. Good thing.
So you spend a bit of time exploring the simulation lab. You can see the little behind the scenes. You can explore, and so you wake up in the simulation and you go to the rooftop. You fly the helicopter. You can see where the helicopter is. It's on like a 3D platform that kind of moves it around, and you can see the buttons that literally flip the stage around, and mechanical walls slide and things pop up in and out of the floor. It is an incredible interactive piece that is now completely useless to you and everybody around it because, well, there's an alien outbreak. So you got to get the hell out of here. January kind of points you to a exit or a couple suggestions of an exit. There's, again, choices you can make. You can either climb up and just climb right out by parkouring, or you can follow the staircase and go out the employee entrance. Either way, eventually you'll leave the simulation lab and you'll come across your first living person, and they won't be living for long. They will run up against the glass as you're in a decontamination thing. They will be attacked by a mimic, and they'll have their life sucked out of them. And right before your eyes, you'll watch the mimic kill them and then duplicate themselves and then run away and scramble. So if you didn't catch that little bit that Dylan pointed out at the beginning in the tutorial, this literally points, unless you're turning away, you're going to notice, okay, mimics duplicate whenever they kill people. So don't let mimics kill people. Very good idea.
And
Right.
shortly after that, we're introduced to the next bad guy, the next alien, the Phantom. I was only armed with the wrench. If you're really exploratory, you can have some other weapons at that point, but it's really fast moving. And the combat preparedness, that's one of the skills where you can slow down time. I slept on that for a little while getting the hacking ability, while getting more inventory slots on my suit. And I was like, oh, this would have made my life so much easier to have the time slowing down combat preparedness of dying over and over again in the initial room. First to a bunch of the mimics. It took me a little bit to get past the mimics in the lobby, and then on to the first encounter with a Phantom that moves fast. That Phantom killed me a bunch.
Yeah, they're very fast.
I forgot I said I was going to try to have gameplay here. So this gameplay I'm just going to have running in the background. You can pay attention to it if you want to. It's just going to kind of show you what the game is like while you're running around doing things. This picks up after you officially meet January in person. So we'll get to what's happening here on the screen in a little bit, but we're going to continue. So as Dylan says, after you make it out of the simulation lab, you're going to come across a Phantom who you can choose to interact with, or you can try to sneak away and not fight it. The game literally gives you a tooltip that pops up on your screen that tells you, hey, play your way. If you don't have to fight every enemy, you don't have to interact with everything, you don't have to find a key to the door if you don't want to, you can try to find alternate paths. And it gives you, in a very friendly and natural way, it tells you that you can either find the key card to this door, or you can climb up on this briefcase and go through a maintenance hatch and crawl out a different way. Once you do that, you finally get out into the lobby, where you can see me running around in now. The lobby is a fantastic and beautiful scene, and in fact, Sperg Snake has a clip that I'm going to pull up now, where he first comes into the lobby, and he's just very impressed about it, which, I mean, honestly, I would be too, and I was, but it's not like it was a new experience for me, so...
the reveal, yes, of the lobby, that's the reveal of... We're not in Kansas anymore. This is a space station.
Yeah, that's where this clip is from. I had just gotten out of the sound staging labs. I found my way out, and you come out this hallway, and it opens up into the lobby. This game is a fantastic show and not tell, even though the transcribes, I find that to be much more supplemental to the story, because you can just see what is going on around you, and it registers.
And here's a great example right off the bat. You walk out into the lobby, and as soon as you see it, you can see the giant glass pointing that, oh, you're not on Earth. You are definitely on Talos 1. You're on this space station. And something that Sperg Snake briefly misses here, because he's caught off by the lobby itself, is if you look out this balcony here that he's looking out at, you can see that a couple moments ago, the hardware labs has exploded, and you can see all sorts of debris and bodies and stuff flying out into space that is very easy to miss if you don't pay it. Oh, no, actually, there it is.
Yep, cued right on time. It doesn't want you to miss that.
And that's a call from January. You see the silhouette. It misleads you here. You think it's a person who's just grayed out, who's trying to protect. You don't even know who January really is. Just sounds very similar to you.
I think that is a nice reveal that I think I missed because I played this game so much. January's identity is not revealed to you until you finally meet them in your office, which you don't meet immediately. You explore the office, and you explore the lobby, and eventually you get up to the office, and you will see that you sorry, I'm losing my train of thought because I'm trying to move things around. You get into the lobby and you explore it, and January tells you to come up to the office because they have a video that you need to see.
Yes, it's
Doesn't
very
give you
important.
much more details other than that at first. That just there's a video in your office that you definitely need to come and see. So you make your way up to the lobby or up to the office, and you can, for the first time, if you haven't already explored, find the recycler and the fabricator, which are the two main inventory machines throughout the game. They are pretty much exactly what it sounds like. The recycler will recycle almost anything you put into it, and the fabricator can fabricate anything you have plans to.
I love the little. It's to me, it's like a gag somewhere in the hardware labs where there's an organic piece of material and a little note that says, "I was too close to the recycler machine, and this is what used to be my foot."
Yeah,
Absolutely. That's really, again, a nice touch of environmental storytelling. You can figure out that the employees here on the station were working on improving the recycler charges, which are little, like,
Grenades, basically.
They're essentially grenades that pull everything into a little point, and then they transmute it and compact it, and then spit it out in different various minerals. You have organic, you have synthetic, you have mineral, and then you have the exotic materials, which you don't know what is or where it comes from up until later in the game.
Yeah.
So once you get to the office, you watch your video where you get your first real look at like how the looking glass is supposed to work in like commercial use and not in a big sound stage where they're doing a simulation on you. A big wall opens up behind your computer in the office, and a video of you in the past starts playing, saying, "Morgan, you should trust me because I'm you, and I made a message saying this is what you need to do." And before the message plays, Alex cuts in and he cuts off the access to the Looking Glass servers. So he stops the message from being able to inform you whatever past Morgan was trying to tell you.
The introduction of Alex as your main antagonist. He does not like what you're doing here. This is important, this research, and we used to be so hand in hand. You used to be with me on this, and just stop what you're doing, and you will understand why this is so important.
He even asks you to just kind of wait around in your office, and then he gets distracted by whatever he's dealing with on his end, and just the call ends. So you can decide to sit there and never do anything ever again, but I mean,
I don't think anything would trigger, would it?
They're it's not like Far Cry where if you sit there long enough, Alex will come and be like, "All right, cool, thanks," and the game will end. No, that would be a really cool, like, another secret ending to the game. But unfortunately, once Alex stops talking to you, you're back on your own, and you can kind of just go wherever you want. But January nudges you to go to the hardware labs because the director of the hardware labs, Lorenzo Calvino, he is most likely able to restore the connection that Alex cut off from his command terminal because he is the inventor, director of the Looking Glass. So, without any other real reason, you can explore the lobby a little bit more, get into the trauma center. You can explore the little executive workstations over in the lobby. You can explore the bathrooms. There's a lot to explore in the lobby without there being a lot to do there right now.
Right. A lot of things are behind either a hacked door, like you would either need to hack a key code or find
General
a key
access
card
key.
elsewhere. Right. Find that. And that was
one of the big reasons I was rushing hacking and didn't get to combat preparedness for a while, because all those fucking doors I couldn't get to and all those safes.
Oh, the safes, man. I know. Yeah. It's like you see it and I was like, I want in there. But the game does a fantastic job of giving you multiple ways to do things. So you could really you can really min-max a character and make it whatever you want and still like be able to brute force your way through certain areas if you didn't get a perk that would help you finesse it better.
Did you say the live is frozen?
I do believe it is. Rochi said it's frozen, and I believe this is going to be a post-production episode. Bringing it up again does appear we are stuck, and it happened pretty early.
Oh, really? Boo on them.
Is there any way to fix that?
I am not a good troubleshooter.
Hmm.
Yeah, offhand, I wouldn't
Interesting.
know.
Well, it says we're still streaming. And it looks like it's recording, so I'm just gonna keep going if that's okay with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got the recording. We can put it up as a post-production episode, but yeah, it's just the live that we're not going to have. But yeah, you've got the recording, so it's saved for post-production.
Oh, good. I didn't even realize we were live.
Okay. Anyway, so you said you're rushing hacking and stuff like that to get into all these different doors and stuff like that. Once you get your first neuromod, you are opened up to tons of choices, but you're limited because some cost 2 or 3 neuromods instead of just the one. So really, once you get your first neuromod, you only have like 1 or 2 choices. And it's interesting to... Dylan, which was the first upgrade you picked?
I think it was the hacking or the repairs, either the hacking or the repair. That's right. We came across the lift, which needed to have repairs. So I believe that was the very first was repair, and then I started going for hacking, and the upgrading the suit for inventory slots were the first ones that I was diving into, because there's just so many things that you can pick up, and every single one of crumpled pieces of paper are useful because you can recycle them and get materials out of them. And it isn't till like late in the game where you start getting crumpled up pieces of paper that actually have things written on them of one of the personal relationships, them trying to be like, it's you, it's me, no, listen here. So those were the first ones that I got to. And yeah, the combat preparedness, once I finally got to that, I was like, oh my God, I died dozens of more times than I needed to with not having this combat preparedness.
Being able to
that's the
slow
one I
down
went
time
for.
is really powerful. Yeah, it's one of the only human powers. A lot of the other human neuromod trees, they're like, be better at this. I can do this better. I can jump further. I have more health. You know, it's like linear upgrades, and the only power you really get is leverage 3, where you get the ability to throw things so hard you can like break people in half, or the combat prep, where you slow down time and do more damage and things like that. Those are the only human powers, I would say.
I think
Speaking of leverage, that was the first one both Sperg Snake and I picked. Now, I picked it because I have past knowledge and I know that I was going to need it in a couple of minutes. But Sperg Snake picked it because he's like, oh, I want to be strong. It seems useful. There's a lot of things that say I need to be leverage 1 to pick up. So once I did that, I sent him a clip of you being able to kind of exploit the leverage mechanics. You can use the image or use the engine of the game to pick up things and pry them using literally just a physics engine. And you can, right here, I pick up a bench and I move a speaker out of the way so I can get into a door that is too heavy for me to get into normally, but I can pry it open with the little with the leverage by pulling it open with a bench.
Yeah,
so
you used it.
leverage is really useful for things like that.
When leverage became necessary, I definitely got that leverage 1. I don't think I ever got leverage 2. Maybe I got it eventually, or leverage 3, because once you get those recycler charges, you can throw those at doorways that are blocked off, and you could simply move them if you have enough leverage power, or this recycle charge that'll just disintegrate it and recycle it into materials that you can then make bullets out of. Because that was my most made item. It was 9mm bullets and shotgun shells, and it took me a long time to find the cube beam. Either I didn't explore enough, in the hardware room, or there was a key card I was missing in the hardware. But it took me a while to come across the next time you get a Q beam, and that went very well with the combat preparedness for some of the larger enemies.
Yeah, Annie mentioned earlier about like going through the tutorial and what was your initial reaction, and it was pretty much F this. I was like, I played this game years ago when it first came out, probably about a year after it came out. I went through the tutorial and I got the wrench, and I was like, no. Because like you said, you just start dying to mimics right away, and you're like, I just didn't like, I felt very anxious playing that for the first time because they're just coming at you. And I'm like, oh, I freaked out. But I had more pressure this time. I couldn't let you down. So I made it. I plowed through the initial, got to the lobby, lost my brain again. It's like, wow.
The game does a great job of setting tone. The sound design is the game is constantly very quiet other than the music that's playing or the sound effects that are happening. Like, there isn't a lot of ambient noises. You don't hear, like, engines or water running or birds or nothing like, because you're in space, you're on a station. Things that aren't, a lot of things don't make noise because they're not supposed to. That's a very, very bad sign if they're making noise. So, for the most part, rooms are
stomping,
quiet.
That little cue, the vocal cue of something being near, that will get you, like, not a jump scare, but just an alertness of let's crouch down, let's not move.
There's a scream stinger every time you nail a sneak attack. And if I had the Silence 9, so it's like, and then I think it was a greater mimic. It was like sneak attack, critical hit, and it goes, ah! I was like, holy God! Like, it just, if you're not ready
the
for
sound
it,
effects
it
are
will
scarier than they need to be. Like, you said the sneak attack. Like in a lot of games, it's like a cartoony or a sci-fi sound or like something to indicate, yeah, you did it. In this, you hit something and like it's a scream. It's like, ah! You hit me.
Yeah, it's like, oh, what did I do?
It's really good because sneak attacks do 2.5 times damage, so you want to make sure that you can try to sneak around as much as you can, especially in the early game when you don't have a lot of extra gear. You want to try to get those sneak attacks, like especially if you can drop on an enemy and knock them down with your like charge wrench attack. It's a really good way to get the drop on people, literally.
I think that's one of the things that turned me off from it right away is I thought it was going to be more survival horror. There is a survival element, but it's not that rough. It's unless like you put it on a harder difficulty, and make it more survival for yourself. It's not like Resident Evil where I'm juggling inventory. I mean, you do to an extent juggle your inventory, but it's not like 8 spots and I can only hold so much. You can expand it. You can get a little bit more room. I am a hoarder. I can't help it. Just like Dylan mentioned, I fabricated probably every shotgun shell I could, every 9mm bullet I could.
And
the fabricator is really fun to use anyway.
It is kind of fun. One of the reasons I needed so many bullets is because I only went with human abilities. When you're first introduced to the psychoscope and scanning all the different alien species, you have Alex saying, look, I want you to survive. You're going to need to scan them, and you're going to need to pick up their abilities to survive. And then January pipes in, I don't think you should get the alien abilities. And one of the downsides that she mentioned is the turret guns. I was making quite use of a lot of use of the turret guns. So when January says the turret guns are going to recognize you as an alien and shoot on you, that was... both with our antagonist saying you need to become an alien to beat the alien, and our part robot guide saying, I don't think you should become part alien. I decided no alien neuromod abilities, just human.
And that's another example of just choices that are given to you, but also kind of encouraged to you. Like, you have like, once you get into a stage, you get the ability to start learning alien abilities. But as you mentioned, if you do too many, the station will be like, hey, you've got a lot of alien blood in you. You're probably an alien. So you have to be weary. Yeah, it's a nice power to have, but at what point do I lose my humanity and not be able to come back? Because there's nobody on the station to remove these neuromods from me now.
And
No.
I forget which crew member it was. I think it's in the trauma center where they're like writing flip outs on the board, discovering that neuromods are made from the Typhons, are made from the aliens. So everyone who has a neuromod in them already has alien inside them.
I'm glad you bring that up. This clip that I just played where I'm literally hoarding piles of neuromods. At the beginning of the game, once you first have the ability to craft neuromods, you can only craft so many because somebody put a manufacturer license hold on it, blocking the mass production of neuromods because Holding Graves, the man you just discussed, he found out, holy crap, the neuromods are made with exotic material, and the exotic material is Typhon. The aliens are inside of us. Nope, I don't like this. So he's kind of just freaks out and starts a basic company mutiny and puts a hold on the neuromod production, and only the last few licenses that Morgan has you're able to use before it's now expired, and you have a block on it, where everything else you've been, up until this, you've been able to produce as much as you want, just willy-nilly. As long as you have the resources, you can just produce whatever you want. So you have to find this guy and unlock his terminal, because otherwise you can't craft neuromods, you only have to find them.
And the science behind them is the neuromods create different parts of your brain. They simulate what it would be like if you learn these skills, and it makes those connections artificially so that you learn to play piano. Getting some of Danielle Show's voice when they had the band in the bar, that was a fun little scare as well, that I was like, oh, of course, when I started up this audio of this rock band playing with Danielle Show and I'm getting her voice audio, that alerts a bunch of the harder phantoms, the fire phantom and the electric phantom, that, hey, you should check out this big noise happening up here. And that was quick death, because like, oh, of course, making a big noise of a rock concert attracts the Typhons.
I have a clip of the concert and me fighting the Typhon in it, and I also happen to have a clip of the concert in the VR version of the game. There is a VR, sort of a mini game. It's called Typhon Hunter. There is a prop hunt DLC for Prey where you can play as a mimic, going around hiding as objects, and then people will come around and smash objects thinking that they're mimics. It's like prop hunt from Gmod, but in Prey, and that's the whole game, and you can play it in VR. And there's also a 3-part escape room in VR. There's one in Morgan's office, one that I can't remember where it is, and then there's one in the White Tulip or the Yellow Tulip bar with before the Typhon breakout, so it's still nice and pretty and not torn down yet. So I have a clip of that and the concert to give it a kind of side by side to see it once we get to that in the I guess I'll just pull it up now since I have it. I mean, here's the VR version of it, which I think they did this really nice. You can interact with things by touching them, which if the game got a full VR port, I probably would play this game another 10 or 15 times. I think it's also really cool because in the game you don't actually see the hologram of her singing here, which I think is a nice touch.
I don't remember the hologram.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's an exclusive to VR.
Yeah, so you can see me dancing around here and looking at the bar. As you said, I'm going to turn it up here. It's quite loud. It's just music playing. It's like a techno beat. There's bass. There's a loud vocal lines. You can come over here and play with the instruments, which I think is kind of fun. But in the actual game, this segment is not fun. It's kind of intense. This is the wrong clip, though. Dang it. Should have been more prepared.
Combat preparedness.
Yeah.
You needed that. You got your leverage neuromod before you got your combat preparedness neuromod.
That was so
did-
good too to have the combat.
Ah, there we go.
preparedness.
It's very loud though. I think it plays for like the whole entire song. You have to live through it and fight off different typhons that come in here. There's, I think, 3 waves of mimics. There's a bunch of different of the phantoms. If the poltergeist is still alive in the other room, you can accidentally pull the poltergeist into here just by the combat.
Oh wow!
I think it's a really nice touch. This little scene right here.
Yeah, it's a great set piece. And like you just did, you can interact with the instruments too, even on PC. You can walk up and click on them, and the bass. You can't like just strum a bass, but you can click on it and it'll play a little bit of a bass note. And there's speakers everywhere. You can turn speakers on and use those as Typhon lures as well, because they're just all throughout the entire Talos space station, and they just play. You can just turn on some tunes if you want. It's all right.
I think that
a phantom came and absolutely wrecked me when I came across a speaker, and I was like, "Oh, does this do anything?" Nope, just noise. But here comes the phantom, just throwing everything in the room at me.
Yeah, that's a hard lesson to learn.
Called a phantom because they are invisible.
that's the poltergeist. The phantoms
Yeah.
are called phantoms
Yes.
because they are a phantom of a person. They are like a shadow of a person.
I mistook that. The poltergeist wrecked me when I turned on a speaker, and the different variations of the phantom. The first one is just very fast, but becomes to be the most easiest one once you get a certain amount of abilities. And if you sneak up on it with a shotgun, you can one shot it once you get to a certain amount. And then the different variations, the fire phantom, the electric phantom, those were scary, especially the first time coming across the fire phantom in the trauma center with one other phantom. That one I was stuck on for a long time.
I play on nightmare difficulty with all the traumas on, so
Oy.
the out of all of the enemies, I think I have the most trouble with the fire phantoms, because if you do not use a null wave to deactivate their abilities, they can very quickly burn through your suit and give you a 3rd-degree burn, which the negative effect is reduction of max health. So like in Fallout, wherever you take rads, how your health bar goes the other way, whenever you take enough burns, your health slowly starts going away the other way, reducing your maximum health. Up until, like, I think 40% of your maximum health can be just burn.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm glad I left those off for my first playthrough. I don't think I would have made it to the end.
Whenever I come across a fire phantom, I make sure to hit them with a null wave and electrocute them, so they are essentially pacified while I wail on them.
The big bad nightmare creature that you come across, that one was a hell of a jump scare for me. It was the crew quarters. I came in and it gives you a countdown clock. Evade or kill it. So I just right back out into the arboretum and just waited that clock out until the nightmare went away. I believe eventually I did kill 3 nightmares. The first one with a series of recycle charges, and the next 2 combat preparedness to the max, and the Q wave, which I recall 3 of them. 2 Q waves.
Here's an example of that, Dylan. The recycler charges are not just a tool; they are straight up a grenade. I did the same thing. I hid in a room while the nightmare was outside, and I just lobbed recycler charges at him until I saw damage numbers. I'm like, okay, well, that's gonna hit him, and just continually compacted him until he died.
Yeah,
The
good
recycler
job.
charges are a tool, but they're definitely a weapon.
Yes, and you can set them as traps too.
Eventually, someone is trapping the place. I assume it's the phony cook that is putting
that guy.
little recycler charges on fucking everything at some point.
Fucking
We're
imposter.
bouncing around a bit, so I'm gonna steer us back towards the story a little bit.
Yes, I'm sorry. That's my.
No, you're
forte.
okay. No, it's been a lot of fun, and this game gives you the chance to do that because you don't have to do everything in a linear path. Like, yeah, there's only one way to get to the end of the story, really, but you can do whatever you want on the way there. So it's fun to bounce around. Once you get to the hardware labs, though, you are it's the first chance where you get to really explore the multiple path options. Whenever I was talking to Sperg Snake about this, he was trying to get into a room and he couldn't find the key card to it. So I recommended that he try to just go around the door, because you have that option in this game. If you can find a way around the door, you can go above it, you can go under it, you can go through a maintenance hatch, you can go find a terminal to unlock the door manually. So there's plenty of different options, but your goal is to go to Calvino's lab and reset the looking glass so you can replay that message from, well, you. You go to Calvino's lab, and it turns out that it's locked, and, well, you have to now go find Calvino. You have a couple of options to find him. You can look through emails to find out where he probably was working. You can go to a security terminal, and you can track him with his little bracelet. Most TranStar employees have a tracking bracelet on them for security and safety purposes, because they don't want employees smuggling info or tech out of the station, so they want to be knowing where all of their employees are.
Yeah, that really worked.
For some employees, no, it did not. Absolutely. Some employees are smart enough to figure out how to deactivate their tracking bracelets.
Yes, I had an issue with one person, tracking bracelet number 1129. He's way out in deep space.
Mm-hmm. He's part of a side quest called Disgruntled Employee, where you come across somebody who was kind of pissed off at the company and decided to say fuck this once the outbreak happened. He grabbed some high-value technology and he decided to try to spacewalk from Talos to Earth. Now this man, despite whatever he did for the station, despite him being smart enough to get out and not, die on the way out of the station, he was unfortunately not smart enough to remember that there's a ton of cosmic and space radiation, and the Talos one is only protected by that because it has what's called a magnetosphere, and it is protecting from those radiations. So once he was far enough outside the ring of the station, he succumbed to massive doses of radiation because his suit was on par to deal with that sort of stuff, because it's just a standard safety suit. And he died out there due to rads. No Typhon killed him, he didn't die to some bullets, nobody betrayed him. He died to his own hubris and his lack of knowledge on the fact that, hey, there's radiation out there.
Yeah, that was one that I had to give up at some point in order to finish the game in time. And I finished the game right before we went live. And another one of the employees you can find that met an untimely death was the drunkard.
Yes. Oh my God, I remember his name, Price Broadway. I remember that was I loved it. Because that was just this game is built on little moments like that, where you're just kind of following that little story, and then it ends great.
Emails and transcribes. You're getting this story of you can't be drinking on the job, and he was relieved of his duties in the water filtration plant, and he would disappeared before the outbreak, but you're able to find him.
Yeah, no, that was such a great thing. And yeah, there was like bottles all around where he was sleeping. There was cans of beer everywhere. He had a problem.
His password, if you find it, is vodka with a 0.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, the man had some problems, and I didn't know the character by name, but when Sperg Snake brought him up, I had to go refresh my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, that was a great little side character story. Like, there's so many little instances of that, of people trying to escape or trying to do things on the station and meeting their untimely demise. And if you look hard enough, you can find out how most people died through either environmental clues or, well, literally pick up their log and listen to their last moments.
Or just putting together that he got drunk, fell into the water tank, and drowned.
That's so good. And then it's the way you find out where he is. With that, I just love. Like, you go through all of that, you get his password, then you go back down to waste filtration. There's this big circle thing just hanging there. I just face palmed for that guy. It was such a good thing. It made me smile. That's what this game really. It makes it feel lived in. Like he was doing his own little personal thing. He cut out his own little life on Talos, and it cost him. but like you said, everybody that's kind of this place has a lot of bodies just lying around, and you can figure out who died from what if you do a little investigating.
And on the security stations, you can see just the mass amounts of dead bodies through it's tracking them, and there's so few that are alive that you can come to. And I was actually disappointed finally coming across people who are alive, but the first ones I come across are brainwashed or hypnotized by that psycho. I forget the name of that
Telepath.
alien, the telepath. Yeah, the telepath and the robot version of that. Oh,
the technopath. I hate that thing.
The technopath is a very powerful enemy. If you're using any techno weapons, it can EMP like your glue gun. It makes your glue gun worthless. Your propulsion system gets fucked up. Your lightning gun, like anything that uses tech tree, it just completely gets screwed up.
But the telepath, I save scummed in the Arboretum several times, but because I was like, I'm saving these people, and they kept coming, and that's something that they teach you that early in the game in the trauma center you can unlock. And I was glue gunning. I was like, I'm gonna glue gun this guy who's mind controlled, but nope, his head's a grenade. They're using them to get close to you and blow their head up. So that was, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to take out the telepath, and then I'll be able to talk to these people. Nope, just pass out. You can either taser them or you can kill the telepath first, and it's kind of hard because they're walking grenades. But either way, they're just incommunicado. They're passed out on the floor.
There's only one instance in the game where you can meet an NPC that is mind controlled, and then you free them from mind control, and they don't immediately just become a ragdoll on the floor. Her name is Ronnie or Ranny. She is in the Arboretum in the greenhouse, and if you free the telepath or kill the telepath without killing her, she will thank you, tell you that she's going to go meet up with the security chief, and then she gives you a password, or a key card actually, to a nearby door that has some turrets in it that you can use if you aren't full of alien juice.
Yeah, Dylan mentioned he did a full human run. I succumbed about 70% into the game, maybe 80%, and I just wanted the telepath one so I can interact.
Remote manipulation, very powerful. It makes the bolt caster completely worthless.
That's what my problem was. There is and it was trapped with a recycle thing. They're in crew quarters, I think. No, because that has the console. There's a security booth somewhere. I just could not figure out how to get in. There's no up and down. You can just see the terminal off into the distance, and it doesn't unlock the door, I don't think, or at least I couldn't figure it. I gave up after a minute, and I was like, "Give me this." And you literally like zoom right in on a workstation, and you can interact with it like you're standing in front of it. It is extremely powerful, but does render the bolt caster somewhat ineffective.
I did like the reveal of the bolt caster. You see some emails and it's mentioned, and it's like this is going to be a badass weapon. And I actually got the fabrication plan first. I'm like, all right, I've got this other weapon, and no, it's a Nerf gun.
Yeah,
yep, it's just a crossbow Nerf bolt. It's a fantastic. It's nothing but a great tool, especially if you're doing a human only run, because there are certain things that it can do, like it can interact with screens from a long distance, it can hit buttons, it can distract enemies. There's an enemy later in the game called a cystoid. It can distract them very well.
Does it?
Yeah, because it makes like squeaky bolt noises, and it like bounces, so they'll just be like, "Ah!" and they'll just run after it. It's a really good distraction for them.
There's been a few times those.
Once you have remote manipulation, you don't really have a use for the bolt caster anymore, because you can just mind blast into any terminal or anything. Especially if you have the full upgrade of it, you can do it from like 30 meters away.
Yeah, you get a fair amount of distance. It's a
very good ability.
I just did the one, and they still razzed me for it. Every time I walk past the turret, insufficient typing material. Like it knows you got something, but it
Calibration,
doesn't.
please. Yeah,
It's like
calibrate me. I don't know what's up with
side eyeing
this
you. They're
guy.
like, yeah, they don't like. I don't know what to do about you. Like get looking up and down. I thought that was fun. That again another nice little touch. You know, they didn't have to do something like that. There's a lot of voice acting that they didn't have to do. You were talking about
There's
the
an
sound.
incredible amount of voice lines too, like for all the choices you make. So once there's a point in the story where you have to reboot the station. You have to essentially just turn it off and turn it back on. There is basically no way for Morgan to find out how to do this unless somebody tells you how to do it. And once you reach a point, somebody will literally just, hey, by the way, this is what we can do, and this is how you can do it. Depending on who's still alive, because this game is all about choice. So if you meet somebody, if you don't like them or don't want them to be alive, you can just kill them. I mean, you might not have any reason to as a player, but you can decide to kill anybody you want. So, for example, the chief engineer, if she's not alive, she can't give you the info. If January is not alive, January can't give you the info. If different people aren't alive, the dialogue will change when you get to certain points because, well, that person can't talk to you, they're dead.
Exactly.
And even in my last playthrough I still ended up hearing dialogue I had never heard before because I was like, okay, well, everyone in the station is dead. Who's going to tell me about this? And still I was able to find out the information because of something I didn't think of. And I love that this is a game that I have still, like, there's cases because it's still a game, but I'm rarely, if ever, able to outsmart this game. The devs have thought of everything I'm probably going to do. And they have not only let me do it, but they have built a little walkway where I can sneak up and do it on.
Right. That the amount of choice you get does create a good sense of freedom.
There are some things that you don't have any ways around of, such as once you learn where Calvino is, you have to go spacewalk. There is no way to spacewalk unless you decide to get the Artax propulsion system. And it's not really a choice because you can't progress the story any further, period, if you don't spacewalk and go out to Calvino and grab his keycard. There is no other way into his room, there's no other way out of his room. There's a couple points where the game, it doesn't, like, force you to, but it's such a strong bottleneck that if you don't go through it, you can't go further, really. There are a couple of rooms where you straight up, like, there's a lady named Illusion. If you want to go into her cabin room, you can't because her cabin door has been exploded. And there's no other way into her cabin other than to become a mimic and mimic underneath her door and then go read her emails. So, unfortunately, there's no way to get into her room if other than being like, oh, I guess I'm going to be an alien person now.
Those exploded doors, it annoyed me so much my recycler charge method did not work on those. It's still just in the way.
Yep, unfortunately, the mimic is the only way to get past those ones. So, it really does encourage you to do multiple playthroughs because you're like, okay, well, I'm still going to do human only this playthrough, but next game, I'm definitely getting into that room. The first thing I'm doing is getting mimic, and I'm coming in here, and I'm crawling in here and figuring out what is in there.
Yeah, there's already... I got other ideas going. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yeah, like you said, you start seeing things that you can't get away with, and you want to go back and just... I wanted to know what was in her room. That's Michaela, right? You're talking about?
Yeah, Michaela Illusion, yeah.
I wanted to find out more about her because she's not central to the plot, but there is stuff relating to her and your character.
Your character directly, yes. Whether you want to or not, Morgan is attached to Michaela. So you can get a lot more information about who Morgan was, not is, because you are Morgan now. You can be whoever you want to with Morgan. But Michaela, whoever Morgan used to be.
Was she the one that wanted the information on her Russian father, who
Correct,
was a volunteer? Yes. Yeah, that was a big reveal of who you used to be.
Yes,
and how heartless that you were, of going down and finding the audio log of you just allowing a mimic to kill her volunteer father. Volunteers, you find out pretty quickly, are prisoners. Life sentence and death sentences that are commuted to be volunteers for Talos 1. and coming across the audio, especially that you knew what you're well aware, your character at that point, of what these mimics do. But this was just an experiment. Will act different to an old person versus a young or a middle-aged person. That's expected results. No different with an older person. And it gives you the option delete or transfer. I was like, I can't let you know this is who I was, Michaela. Delete. Sorry, it was destroyed.
You decided to delete it?
Yeah.
In every single one of my playthroughs where I get the choice, I decide to, because, yeah, it was a shitty thing that Morgan did, but as Morgan says to you, and you say multiple times, I don't know who that is. That's not me.
Right.
Because the repeated neuromod removal, it gives a psychological thing called personality drift, where repeated things, like, a good example of why they were testing Morgan in the soundstage is to test this exact thing, is repeated wiping of your memory, even though you're setting back to a point that was already there, and it's not like you're rewriting or unwriting or, playing with the past. You're resetting to a point. The future will be different depending on how many times you do this, because it's this personality drift. Which is why Morgan, in some instances, is a lot more, like, grumpy. Sometimes she's tired, or they're tired. Sometimes they're very determined and they know exactly what the plan is. Because all of these different versions of Morgan have gone through so many different things that, well, I can't remember the other versions unless I tell myself.
Yeah, I like that a lot, because it tries to say that consciousness is based on your compiled memories, and your decision making is based on your memories. And that's something that's a hard question to ask, because how much of that is from your memory and environmental based versus who you are genetically. And like Dylan was mentioning, they're experimenting on prisoners, and there's debate on that. Are prisoners, like, are criminals because of their environment, or because they're born that way? And you get, like the trolley experiment, you get to, that, just like with the granddad, you get to decide on another inmate, volunteer.
Walter Goggins was the voice of that guy. A nice little cameo from Walter Goggins.
Yeah, another good one from him, huh?
And clearly, not everything is factual about him, because all his records say he's a Russian, and he's got like a Texas accent.
Yeah, he had Yeah, he comes off with a very strong Southern accent, and then they want you to think he's a child trafficker. So, you can justify it in your mind, right? Oh, he was doing things to innocent kids. I can turn him into a monster and kill him. Or you can spare him. If you want to show compassion, go ahead. Because, like you said, they didn't know what they were volunteering for. It was forced volunteering, and maybe he just deserves a quick death. He did
tempt me to kill him anyway when he said, man, I'm glad it was you. Another guy in a green suit came around here and bashed a guy's head with a wrench, and I've got the wrench in my hand. I'm like, this is a punchline if I do this.
Yeah, exactly.
You tell me that, Walter Goggins.
So I spared him. But then I came back later, and he's just standing around. And every time you leave and come back to the room, he has dialogue for you. And like Andy was mentioning, you might not catch it all.
One of the times he wouldn't get out of the doorway. I had to smack him with the wrench just to get him to fucking move.
So what I ended up doing, I tased him and knocked him unconscious, and then I checked him, and he only had a banana. That was it. He was just walking around. So he was in there with his banana.
There was once I saved scummed. I came back there, and there was one of the electric phantoms that I killed. And after you kill the electric phantom, there's this electricity field around it that he just stood in until he died.
That's another great thing. It's like, not everything is always your fault. It can be anybody's fault at any time. I watched people walk into fire, and that kind of stuff, and
I loved when the phantoms walked into fire and took some of the difficult health draining away from the battle.
There's a couple
Yeah.
of circumstances like that where you'll just find an enemy with low health, and you'll be like, oh, wow, how did that happen? And you find an environment that hurt them. I met a human at some point that had almost no health, and I'm like, I ran away from him. I was like, I don't want to kill you. I don't know how you have no health. I don't know. Did I do something? Turns out there was a pipe that was just on or shooting fire out of the wall that they were just,
Phantoms do the same thing. They'll just walk right back and forth, marching up and down a hallway that's got this like blast furnace coming out. And
I also accidentally shot Walter Goggins another time when you go back in there and there's a shitload of mimics in one of the rooms, and he's right next to him, and I'm there's too many mimics. The pistol won't work. I need a shotgun, and he's right there in my way, and it didn't kill him, but I was like, oh shit, I'm getting away from you. I've had to hit you with a wrench just to get through a doorway, and you just caught some stray gunfire by standing right near all these mimics. I'm not going to be near you anymore, Walter Goggins.
yeah, that's definitely an NPC problem sometimes. Dr. Ingwe keeps standing in front of the fabricator in the one
in
dude's
your
office.
It's so annoying.
I did. I wanted to hit him. There's no
that
fist option, though, and I couldn't just club him with the wrench. But if I had fists, I would have punched him. But out of my way.
That is part of his personality, though. Through the emails, everyone is quite annoyed with him. And the first time you come across him and he's in a shipping container that's out in space, save me. And I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, oh, I'll just hit the code on this.
I did the same thing.
You depressurized and killed. You guys murdered him on accident?
Yeah, I didn't even think about it. I'm not even a second guess, because why would he be out in space without a spacesuit on? He's
That's
in the
so
container.
funny.
Why would he not have an oxygen suit? I thought I was helping a bro out, and he was going to float on back to... No, he got sucked out of the air. Just
Yep, you depressurize and
Curses
rip all the
you.
oxygen out of his lungs and kill him.
yes.
So you just immediately like, I guess I gotta go back in my save. Oh, no,
Well, I had the 4-digit code. I went up to the thing and I had it. Speaking of, here's a sheet of
The shipping
paper.
container code is the number of the shipping container.
Right.
If you didn't know, there's a menu in the game with all of that. It's really
Yes,
cool that
I
you have a
didn't.
piece of paper for it. That's a lot more like manual, and it feels like more real. So I respect you for having a actual paper with it.
I got three written down before I realized that if you already had the code when you walk up to the thing, it shows it to you. But the other thing I have written down is ACBAC, because you can't look at both of those at the same time. You have to do that thing in that order.
I kept playing that transcript over and over again.
Yeah, I know. I wrote it down.
Open.
I had to write it down.
I memorize it offhand. As soon as I get into the office and I
smarty.
have the key, I'm just like AB Bach or AC Bach.
Yeah, that's good. See, there you go. That's exactly what I should have done. But I'm a note taker now. It happened at my last job. I started taking notes, and it's beneficial.
It really is. It's a great. I keep notes in different ways. I have like my Discord where I post different things. I'll message friends and I'll keep track of who I've sent crap. Maybe I could have a better system, but at least I do keep track of notes and stuff.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's why I got paper and a pen just in case. This game has a lot of things going on. There's no way I could hold it all.
And it springs a lot of it at key opportunity moments. So, getting back to the story, once you grab the key card from Calvino, you go to his lab and you figure out how to restore the server connection so you can go watch the message. There's some things to do in his office which are pretty cool. You can figure out through his logs that he is losing his, sanity. He's going senile. He's losing his ability to remember where things are, remember dates. So he's slowly losing his mind, and he's all upset about it, so he's meticulously keeping notes all over the place, and something that which is confusing to me, that a man losing his memory builds himself a secret safe. He messages one person asking them to calibrate a scale to a certain weight, and then he asks another person to fabricate a cup to be a certain weight whenever it's empty. And then he combines those two with another person to build like a sliding door, and then he installs a safe behind a wall that opens with his custom cup.
That took me way too long to figure out, because when you're in his lab, you can see him open it up as as the video lingers, and I'm like, oh, I'll just open it. And I read the email, but it took me forever to figure out, oh, of course, that's what the scale in the cup is for.
In the room, hidden somewhere, you can find his cup, and if you put it over on his little custom scale, it'll spit open his wall safe, and that's how you get the key card to his cabin. It's the only way to get into his cabin. So it's a cool, like, it's not even necessarily a side quest. I would call it like a sub quest, which this game has a lot of, where you can just find something and then way later on you can use it to get a reward, but without any fanfare or anything. It's just a thing for you.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. And definitely in the crew quarters, you can find stuff when you come back.
Oh, once I got to the crew quarters, I wanted to find I forget how many I didn't come across, but I was like, I want to find them all. It's like the Pokemon. I want to get the key card to all of their rooms.
Yeah, I agree.
The one where where they've turned into a phantom and they just bust out at you.
And I hate that. There's a couple of times, like especially when you run into the nightmare for the first time. I think I was going to life support, and you come down a gravity shaft. And it was right there, like at the end of a hallway.
It's just waiting for you at the bottom of it.
So I went right back up the gravity shaft. I was like, shh. I did it like 3 times because it came at me, and I was like, I'm gonna get him, and because I had to work up the nerve, and so I went down there with the shotgun and my combat thing, and I slowed down time, just stood there, like trying to dodge him and blasting him,
and does as much damage as the bolt caster, basically.
Right? No, when you're fighting him the first time, you're not doing so hot, and. I hate timers. It's just watching my impending doom count down in real time. It plays on me a little bit.
Yeah, because you only have 3 minutes to kill them, even if you want to. So it's not like you can just like slowly chip away at them. Because if the timer goes away, it'll just flee. It'll run off screen and just disappear.
That happened to me once. I almost had one dead, and it was like 3, 2, 1, and he was just like, I'm gone.
So you finally get back to your office and replay the message after restoring the connection, and it picks up like 1 second before it cuts off, and Morgan reminds you, oh, you're not going to like what I have to say. You have to blow up Talos 1, destroy everything, all the resources, everything, and probably even yourself, because if one cell of this shit gets back to Earth, well, I'm pretty confident the Earth is lost if even I get back to Earth, so please kill everyone, including yourself. Now, suddenly you're presented with this huge option that isn't necessarily your choice. It's coming from your own mouth, but you're not the one who made it. So you, as the player, are given the option, do I want to go through with this? Do I want to find the arming keys? Do I want to go through all of this process and blow up the station just because I said so? To reinforce it, afterwards, the message ends, and January finally comes into the office, revealing that January is a custom-built operator that has been in this video log. January's the operator sitting on the floor next to Morgan. So January introduces themselves and gives you the general access key to get you to the rest of the areas that you weren't able to get into before you went and restored the connection. Now officially the kind of tutorial of the game is over. It's taught you all the mechanics it needs to. It taught you how to recycle, how to fabricate your Artax, how to use fabrication plans, how to spacewalk, how to fight enemies, how to multipath, all this crap. Now January gives you the general access key and you can go anywhere. The first place I personally went was the shuttle bay, because it is a huge room right off the lobby, and you don't even have to like go through a third hallway or anything like that. Immediately just go to the shuttle bay because I wanted to check it out.
I snuck in there and ran back out. There is one of the technos, one of the robots, and it killed me a couple of times, and then it was like, I'm gonna sneak around, get a couple of these items, and then get the fuck out of there. I am so underpowered to face this enemy right now.
Oh, absolutely. The first time I went in there, I was just like, yep, okay, I guess I can't fight them. I don't have anything to fight this guy, and he keeps hitting me with lightning balls, so I'm just gonna leave. The shuttle bay is also the only place on Talos 1 that at the beginning of the game does not have a contained atmosphere. If you go in there, you'll put on your helmet because there is a breach somewhere in the shuttle bay that there's no oxygen, basically, or there's leaking oxygen in the shuttle bay. If you're playing with the health hazard on for oxygen, it's, like I said, the only place in Talos where you have to worry about your oxygen. Otherwise, you only have to worry about that outside of the station. So, my first playthrough back, because I've done 3 playthroughs to come and talk about this game. The first playthrough, I, had no powers, no nothing. I went in there, I got beat up by the Technopath, I got shot a couple times by its turret, and now I'm bleeding all over the place, because that's one of my traumas, and I'm like, okay, well, can't go in there. As much as I know I want stuff in there, I can't work with it right now, because I am way underpowered. So, like Dylan said, I immediately walked in there, suffered, I was like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, I've about faced out of a room a few times, just because I was like not ready to deal with what was going on in there. I think the first time I fought I'm pretty sure it was a telepath. It could have been, no, yeah, it was a telepath. I was outside of Talos EVA, like you come out the Psychotronics airlock, and then right around the corner, that guy was floating around, and that's where I found the Q-beam. Was like in this little cubby hole where this corpse was.
Oh, I know I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah,
because that was the first thing because Dylan said, he's like, I'm trying to get everybody. You can go through the crew list and find all these people, but the ones that are outside of Talos are marked. It says corpse, and they're just like all floating around. And
once you get close enough, you get like a little marker on it.
The baseball player in marketing.
Yeah.
When I found his body floating outside, I was like, oh, I got some backstory of this baseball player, and there he is, just floating dead.
Yeah, that's one of the best things.
In the Arboretum, you can find a little small nook of the Arboretum where he presumably was playing baseball, or catch, I guess. They have 2 catcher's mitts, some pizza, some beers, and instead of a baseball, they have a ball of organic material because, well, presumably nobody brought a baseball, or they lost their baseball, so they just used some organic material ball, probably like a 1 ounce or 1 pound ball, or whatever the baseball was weighted. They probably manufactured the ball, and I think it was a really nice touch.
There was a little home plate right back there, like you said, it was beer and pizza. They were having a good old time.
There's a lot of baseball gloves around. The crew got baseball fever being with a former athlete, and you find his records being very embarrassed of how short his career was. But we're all nerd scientists. We don't know that sports ball. We just know you were a sports star. And coming across Gluey McGlueface that they made out of the glue gun, this snowman out of glue with the 2 gloves for his hands. That was I almost felt bad killing Gluey McGlueface to get his gloves and all the other stuff. Oh, cigars!
That's another one.
It's got like a 1960s feel, and it was pretty far into the game where I found in the trauma ward I had the proper key card to get in there, and finding the paper that says, oh, and now we've got the technology to where smoking, the cancer cells are immediately out of your system. So it's as bad as drinking a soda. It's not good for you, but it's not terrible.
Right, you can get away with it. And there's one area, I can't pinpoint in my brain, but like there's an office, and then there's a door off to the side, and you open the door, and there's just a little balcony, and on the one corner of the balcony is a nice stand ashtray. Like you were saying, it's like all 50s, 60s style. So there was like a specific smoke balcony. And I'm like, how are they letting people smoke inside of a space station? It just makes no sense. And again, baseball gloves are everywhere. There's a lot of little things that you're just like, these guys are like, it's full habitat. Like they're self-sustaining.
Yeah, this is their job, but it's also their house, it's their home, it's their community, it's their city, it's, for intents and purposes, it's their country, because you have people from all over Earth working on the station in harmony, and you have plenty of situations like Gluey McGlueface, this is clearly a violation of company policy, company property, company ethics, whatever. Here's a checklist of things this violates, but we're going to let it happen. Just put it behind this fucking thing, and nobody talk about it, because this is the one bit of fun we get to have. Okay?
Yeah, right. Don't smash the pinball machine. Oh, they do have pinball machines too. In the Tulip Lounge, I think there's
Oh,
a
yeah.
pinball machine
Being a
too.
pinball nerd,
Or in the and in
I found it
recreation.
I found it fun that those two were. It was like the Addams Family pinball revolution didn't happen. They were more just like old school style pinball machines from the '60s, and this is an alternate future. One of the first things that you come across is a picture of JFK,
Yep.
and he lived well into his old age. And later you come across mentioning that the Bay of Tonkin did not bring us into the Vietnam War. Who knows what what would have happened if we would have pursued war in Vietnam after that incident? So, alternate history spotted throughout.
I
Yeah, I
really
like
like that.
that.
It's like Fallout, because Fallout, the big like diversion of Fallout timelines in our timeline is, instead of focusing on the microchip, they're like, we have like nearly unlimited power at our fingertips. Let's focus on the atom.
Yeah.
So instead of working on supercomputers and stuff, they focused on the atomic power, and that's where the technology trees vastly verge. A lot of history still happened the same, but things are a lot different because of that one choice. Whereas in Prey, the split was the guy, or JFK didn't die. He lived. So that's where Prey splits. It's some parallel history, but way different because of a lot of different things, and also they met aliens, so you know that.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that is a different divergence here, and I also have a theory about some of the Fallout stuff, that there's been multiple divergences, like kind of like that. But that's kind of like Fallout, little bit like Portal, little bit like Dead Space. There's like a lot of different games that come together here. And like you mentioned earlier in the show, top 5, hands down, easily. The storytelling's phenomenal. The atmosphere is great. It's such a great setting to be in for all that time. And after you get general access, you can go everywhere. You can float around in tunnels for hours, just looking around.
And sometimes you have to, because you're looking for a certain corpse or whatever, or you're looking for, this last transcribe, and they don't mark transcribe, so you have to look for those differently. So there's a lot of looking around and backtracking, especially if you're trying to go for the 100% completion. Speaking of the general access key,
backtracking to the hardware labs, I got a glitch, and it reset all the neuromods that I collected. It actually reset a lot of things. I had to fight the fire phantom again, but I collected more neuromods than I should have, because I backtracked to the hardware labs earlier just to get the suit, to talk to the engineering robot and get my suit upgraded to be repaired, and it reset all those neuromods that I already collected again. So hooray, glitch that got me more power-ups.
Yeah,
that happens every once in a while. It didn't happen in either of these 3 playthroughs, but back when I played Prey a couple of years ago, that did happen to me. I walked into the lobby, and the lobby had completely reset. The turrets were back fine. All the chairs were reset. The neuromod in the little area with the Talos history was reset. I'm like, thanks, but also very weird.
It was pretty late in the game that I went back into the volunteer quarters, and the objective actually, I got the audio of January introducing herself again, and got the objective to break out of my apartment, like really late into the game when I'm getting into the volunteer quarters.
It seems like January has the most opportunities for broken dialogue, because January has so many points where they can talk to you, that sometimes you, because of a path you decide to do, or some weird thing you did, that you skipped a trigger, and then you go back to it later, and you're like, oh, okay, well, we walked over this trigger. Yeah, you've already heard this dialogue, but this is one of the triggers to get that dialogue that you haven't used before. And for whatever reason, the game gets confused and doesn't read that you've already read this dialogue, so it ignores it. It's just a simple, line of code failing, but it seems most common with January. A personal example I have is in my second playthrough. I decided not to kill January, but I decided I wanted to kill a lot of the people on the station. So I get to the cargo bay where there's a lot of humans still alive, and I make sure that all of them die. Later on, a couple of rooms later, January comes over the comms and says, "Hey, great job helping out in the cargo bay. You know, you didn't have to do that, but you gave them all hope." I'm like, "They're corpses! What are you talking about, you psycho? They're all dead."
I had a glitch late in the game with the transcribes. Every time I would pick up a new one, or somebody would call me, Alex's transcribe would come back up. "Well, if you're listening to this, something awful happened, blah, 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 blah. When we played with fire and didn't burn down the house." You know, that one. And I was like, "Dude, you said this speech like 3 times." Because it just says press L to play. And I'm like, "Oh, what's this?" And so I hit play and I'm like, "Oh, this again." But that one...
I don't know if that's broken on all versions, but it definitely seems like the PC version transcribes have a chance to break the press L to play it, and something that I've noticed, if it's a story transcribe, like something that's important that you have to hear, if you play something else or you cancel it somehow, it'll play unlimited amounts of times until it actually finally finishes the log and has a second to mark it as completed. I think I listened to one of Alex's over and over and over, and I was like, I'm just standing still. I'm just gonna wait till it's over. Cool.
Gotta wait it out.
Yeah,
and the
transcribes do seem, but those, it just seems like it's audio glitches. It's not like, there's never been a point in the game where I've like tried to climb over something and, you know, like fell through the, well, I think that maybe did happen once, but I think
I had that once as well, of falling, but it did correct itself. I didn't get a death from the falling through a floor into nothingness.
I climbed through a wall like I wasn't supposed to and got inside of a wall, and then I just turned around and climbed right out of it, so it wasn't like I got stuck or anything. Yeah. But other than that, yeah, the game is super well put together. In terms of planning and the actual game itself, other than the occasional audio glitches.
Yeah, it wasn't anything game breaking, just kind of annoying. Like I said, I had an issue with 1129 and getting the Gen 2 pack for my suit. The tracker didn't work, but I had to like shut down the game and turn it back on, and then there it was. It shows you the little, you know, employee tracker. Otherwise, I would have never found that guy. There's no way I would have found that guy.
I did get a glitch where it froze up a couple of times when I was using the glue gun to cover up fire through a pipe. It happened somewhat early into the run and never again. But that was another small little glitch that wasn't absolutely infuriating, but just a little annoying. But yeah, few and far between with the glitches like that.
Yeah, I agree.
So you get the general access key, and now you can go anywhere you want in the room, but January encourages you to take the main lift to the Arboretum, because the Arboretum has access to deep storage, which is essentially like where all the hard drives on the station are stored and all the data gets dumped and archived. It's the computer banks. So you need to go up there because Alex destroyed your arming key for the station, but you, in a contingency plan, hid a copy of it because you knew that a future version of you might need it. So January tells you to go access the lift, and unfortunately the lift isn't working. The lift is it's the closest to the fast travel that there is in the game. There is no fast travel. Everywhere in the game you have to walk or fly to, which is something I really like. It can be a pain in the ass, but it keeps the sense of immersion the entire game, because if you need to go from life support to the Arboretum, you either need to take the elevator or you need to spacewalk, or you need to literally snake the entire station all the way through, run the guts, everything. There's ways to get there, but there is no just, oh, okay, now I'm in the Arboretum. The elevator is the closest you have, and it still isn't fully functional in terms of a fast travel. You only have life support, lobby, Arboretum, and that's like it.
That's it.
You only have that's it. You only have those couple of floors. So, yeah. Your goal is to go to the Arboretum, but unfortunately the lift is down. So January pings you and lets you know that they found an alternate path called the Guts, which is the general utility tunnel system.
And you have to go through psychonautics, but that is the most dangerous place to be. And my favorite room is in there, where there is a sticky note on every single item. Not a mimic, not a mimic, not a mimic. So any single item that doesn't have a sticky note on, they have to be very leery about. This could be a mimic, because I labeled every cup, every wallet, everything in here, every little item in here is not a mimic. If it's doesn't have a sticky note on it, shoot it.
Yeah, there's plenty in there too. He got nearly
almost every
everything
item.
covered.
Yeah, it's a really impressive. It's a nice. It's really cool because it makes sense perfectly. Like, it's not like just a stupid joke the developers put or whatever. No, it makes perfect sense. If there was a being on the station that was trying to kill you that could look like anything in your entire office, you want to make sure that everything in your office is not one of those things. So the guy literally just sticky notes. Nope. Safe. He lets his friend know too. It's like, okay, I'm gonna just kind of chill here, try to survive. I sticky noted everything I possibly could have. Good luck, man. And it's really interesting because you can find his friend who he was trying to communicate with. You can find him where he died. It's just so much of these people just hiding and trying to live through these situations. Dylan mentioned that one of his favorite rooms is in the Psychotronics, and so is mine, but not the same room as his. In Kelstrup's room, he has like this private conference room where he has several prototype touchscreen looking glasses. And Calvino installed them for him, and all Kelstrup had to do was go down there and calibrate them. Really simple. All he has to do is just go down there, touch the screen a couple of times, and Kelstrup wants nothing to do with it. He yells at Calvino. He's like, I'm not playing sing-along with your bouncing green ball. And Calvino's like, all you have to do is just do it once and it'll work forever. You know, like, it's supposed to calibrate. And he's having none of it. So when you get to this room, the screen's still not been calibrated because Calvino hasn't had the chance to get down there and he hasn't done it himself, and it's nobody else's job, so it's not going to get done. There's a lot of other things to get done. I do actually have a clip of this from several years ago where I played this game. Let's see. Can I actually get the date on this? Let's see. This comes from 2021. So several years ago when I played Prey. I totally forgot about this. So I come in here and I'm sneaking behind the looking glass, and I wanted to make sure that, you know, I got everything behind there. I get stuck. This is one of the only glitches I run into often, is where your crouch doesn't work right and you have to like re-crouch. But I come out here.
That a few times.
I come out here and calibrate the screen, and I get scared the fuck because the screen breaks and there's a phantom in the glass for just like 2-3 frames. And you can see me, like, my camera goes out of control because I literally spasm in real life as the button just.
Yeah, it got me too. I jumped right out of my seat. I was like, "Ooh, what's this?" Boop boop boop. Oh, you know, it happens, and it happens very quickly. Like,
and it follows you up with another scare because right after you recover from that and realize it's a screen, a real phantom comes in from the door right behind you and comes to start attacking you. So it's one of the few times I've actually got scared in like a real life response other than emotion because of the story. So that's probably one of my favorite rooms in the entire game, is that little conference room, because it just literally I just okay.
The most horror movie like jump scare.
Yeah.
Because all the other jump scares are just video game based. There's this enemy that I am way underpowered to get, where the cinematic jump scare, that was the most cinematic of the jump scares, not the oh no, a technopath scare.
Oh yeah, and especially when you're not expecting it, you just come around a corner and there's just, like you said, if it's not a technopath or a telepath, it's a weaver, just shooting cis balls at me all day. What the nightmare was a fun one to deal with, but I got used to that. I was, by the third or fourth time you're fighting that guy, you're just like, oh, I'm gonna get you.
Yeah, it's an inconvenience more than like a scary fight at that point. You either have to, okay, now I have to slog through this fight, or I have to run away from you and just ignore you.
That's my favorite thing to do, is just like QB.
On my second playthrough, I just killed every single one I had come across because I had every power and every gun. It was like my power fantasy run. So I was just running through, just gluing them up, blowing them with all sorts of power, and then Q-beaming them until they explode. In the third playthrough, it was a lot harder because I was only using powers, wrench, and glue gun. So I had to make sure to turn off his... I had to null wave him, and then try to beat him with the wrench without him stomping on me and doing like 300 damage. So it was hard to keep in the air beating him with a wrench.
You only get so much too. It's not like it's OP or anything where you're just like jetpacking around everywhere. You get pretty
like
fair
one
jump.
good thrust. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dylan missed out on the Artax Gen 2. The 1192 or 1129 employee, Grant Lockwood, he fled the station with the Generation 2 propulsion system, which is why he was able to get out as far as he was. But if you get it, it essentially gives you a double jump and an increased thruster payload on your standard jetpack, so you can jump further, jump harder. It essentially is a jetpack instead of just a little glider that you got in the beginning of the game. All subsequent playthroughs, the second I can spacewalk, I immediately just turn in the direction of him and just fly until I see that little green circle that says there's a corpse there, and then I just go pick it up. It's the first thing I do in every playthrough.
I have a quick question about that. If you don't trigger the first thing, do you still get credit for the objective?
So quests are very finicky. Sometimes they work like that, where if you complete the final objective and the game gives you credit for it, then it'll be like, you completed the quest, you did every step, cool. Sometimes, though, there are like key steps that if you don't do, then it won't mark as completed. A weird example of it is in my last playthrough, I got to my office and I met Michaela because I saved her. And I met Michaela and then I made sure that she died, not by my hands, but she did die in my office. And then for the rest of the game, I still had the quest to meet her because I didn't walk up and talk to her. I should have failed that quest because she's no longer alive, but because quests are finicky sometimes. Yeah, so the quest didn't fail.
You didn't allow her to die by not giving her medicine.
No, I saved her, and then I got her to my office, and then led mimics to her, so she died.
Yeah, I was watching a bit of that playthrough that you were doing. It was pretty funny. I had to kind of stop watching because you were fighting one of the last characters that you meet, and I was like, I can't see what happens after this. I agree. There's like so many cool rooms. I like Psychotronics a lot. That was a good area.
Psychotronics is interesting because the first time you come in there, you have no reason to be there. You are just going through Psychotronics. You are getting to a service tunnel, so you essentially, for story purposes, can ignore everything around you. But there's so much happening with the development of the story because you're learning about what the Typhon are, where they come from, the source of the implications of that. You have to get past a security checkpoint that requires you to have what's called a psychoscope, which is a standard issue employee visor that allows you to scan and see Typhon that are on the non-visible spectrum, as well as scan them, get information about them. It's essentially just your Typhon scope. You have to have one of these to get past a security checkpoint. If you're playing on New Game Plus, you already have one. If you're not playing on New Game Plus and it's your first playthrough, you have to go find one. So you look around in the Psychotronics and you find a guy that was trying to hold out in one of the maintenance shafts in the bottom of Psychotronics, and you find him with a bunch of mimics that killed him, and you take his Psychotronic scope, and you now have to calibrate it to you because it's obviously not your scope. And you go around and you scan some mimics and you scan some other things. And this is where you can start getting, hey, speaking of Michaela dying. If you scan the mimics and scan other Typhon and stuff, that's where you start to get the information about them in your codex, as well as you get their abilities. So you scan the mimic to learn mimic ability. You get the remote manipulation from like the telepaths. So now you have an incentive to go around scanning these enemies because you learn their strengths, their weaknesses. You learn lore about them if you care about it, and you get the Typhon powers if you want them. So you scan a couple of Typhon and you go through the security checkpoint, and Alex congratulates you on knowing how to do it and getting back in the swing of things just like Morgan used to be. And now you are in the actual, like, it's not really top secret because everything in Psychotronics is top secret, but it's the lockdown level of the Psychotronics where you have to have even further clearance. You get in there and it's now the very, very center of Talos 1, the actual heart of it. It's where the entire station of Talos 1 was built around a Russian satellite, and this is kind of the original Russian satellite is right here in this room. It's where they first had contact with the Typhon. The entire station was built around this chamber. Unfortunately, it's in lockdown because of a security thing that they were doing before the Typhon outbreak this morning. Now you have to complete the research they were doing so you can get out of the lockdown. You're presented with 2 tasks. One of them is to witness what the Weaver is and what it does. You open up a big window and you get introduced to the Weaver, which is the floating kind of like mother-like of the Typhon. It creates Typhon. It creates the spider-like webs throughout the station. It's the kind of progenitor type Typhon. It opens up a glass and a dead guy that's in the room gets resurrected by the Weaver, and then you now learn firsthand how the phantoms are made. You had inklings of it up until now. You may have been able to piece it together, especially since some of the people have names. You notice that some of the phantoms have names, and you're like, oh, that's curious, you know. Now you get firsthand confirmation that the Weavers create the phantoms out of people. It's not like they just turn them into zombies. It kind of like metamorphically changes them into like a being of energy. A character later in the game describes it as it's like it brought it out of the corpse.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead.
It's very unnerving to see that firsthand. Like you start to see just how the severity of some of these experiments are, and again, like you're listening to audio logs of people you know's family are getting turned into these things just to see if it works on an old man, or you know, what are the effects on this kind of person. And
right, does this fat man give us more juice than that guy, or is it based on bone structure? Yeah, like they're just doing it for science because they have no way to test it other than using live subjects. Right,
and there's a lot of other things that were going on that are pretty egregious too on Talos 1. Not just that's all, it's all Typhon related, but some people got their own little agenda going on.
Example is there is a journalist that kind of is a spy on the station. She got hired under the guise of really doing like a job. She got in like as a communications officer. She got in and she got like bumped up several stations to the point where she's working in Psychotronics, and she has her own agenda where she's getting all of this information, not because she's a researcher, because she is a journalist. She's getting all of this information and tries to get it shipped off the station and hires, well, I guess, conscripts a couple of people on the station to help her because they believe in her cause. You know, the people on Earthside need to know about this. Whether they agree with it or not, they can make that decision. We, the people, need to know about this. So she risks her life doing that, and she has no interest in any of the research or anything other than just to spread the word. So like you said, everybody in the station is working for the company, but everybody might have their own agenda.
It's definitely fun finding out who's doing what.
The other horrible experiment that's going on in Psychotronics is the one that we've mentioned a couple of times. It's Aaron Ingram. He's locked in a station, in a little cell, I guess, where they're testing the mimic extraction sequence, where they have a mimic kill somebody, the mimics duplicate, and then they extract the mimics, and then turn the mimics into the exotic material. We've hinted at it a little bit, but this is confirming now where the exotic material comes from. It directly comes from Typhon organisms, and you can process it directly, basically, from people. So it's you have the option to do the process, or you can free him. I believe Dylan said you freed him, and Sperg, did you free him?
I spared him, and then left him in the cell. So he just stayed in there, though. because I let he was.
You didn't even open the cell.
No, well, I went in and because he was talking to me, and I was like trying to leave the room and come back so he would continue to, like you said, there was another guy in here, man, who got his head bashed in with a wrench, and so I was getting all that from him, and then he quit talking, so then I tasered him and looted whatever he had in his pockets, and he stayed unconscious the rest of the game. Every time I came back through there, he would just be like laying down.
It's interesting that he stayed, because a lot of NPCs, once you mark them as like saved, they will disappear after a while, presumably to go to the shuttle bay, but it's never confirmed where a lot of the people go after that you save them.
Right, and you don't see them where it's not like you can follow them where they run off. They just kind of like you leave the room and come back and they're just poof.
And they're gone, yeah.
Yeah, Dr. Ingwe does that a couple of times. He's like, I'll meet you in your office. And then you go walk around and like that, he's up in your office, you know? Like, I was like, where the hell did he...
Right,
Dr. Ingwe changed my objective. Being that I save scummed, as I said, just initially let him out and he immediately died. I'm like, oh, I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to go ahead and save scum and actually save him. And it's saving him that's changed my objective to everybody dies, because you're meeting these survivors. And it's like, I saved them. I would like to save them for longer than a couple of minutes, like in the cargo bay. And if I would have let Ingwe die, we wouldn't have had that shuttle back. As I'm meeting people, like, I was prepared to die, and now I want you to live, but everyone would have died if not for Wiggy helping us out.
Right. He had a nickname. Yeah,
that's fantastic to hear from your perspective, because you went in and you're like, blow up the station. All right, sounds good to me. And you were fully ready to do that until you started meeting people, and you're like, wait, hold on, there's people here. Crap, I wasn't ready for people.
Right.
I was expecting to blow up a mess and just like, okay, clean that up. But no, and I don't have to worry about people and like morals and ethics. And after you meet them, you said your opinion changed. That's fantastic, because I think that's what happened to me initially. I was like, I'll just blow up the station, whatever. I don't have any other objectives. You are contacted.
I did feel like a dick with the people in the cargo bay. They've got the food that they've been able to get, and I just come and take it all.
That's not for you. That lady yells at you.
She says that. Like, that's not for you. Who's it for then?
I actually put it back. She was like, that's not for you. And I dropped the box. Like, I go into my inventory. And I think she remarked, but I can't remember. She was like, that was pretty good. And that's where you wind up after, like, that's the next major event after going through Guts. There's a couple of things that happen after. That's after the reset of the station. So, what happens?
The magnetosphere.
Yeah, that's right. You have to reboot that thing.
I forgot about that. That magnetosphere fucks you up.
Yeah.
So
you're not quick.
After you get through the psychotronics, you do the tests, the lockdown's lifted, and you can actually go to the Guts, which is where January has been pushing you, because you need to get up to the Arboretum. So now this is the first time that you get zero gravity inside the station. You are traveling through the zero gravity tunnels that travel like operators, food, water, power. It's essentially the service tunnel of the station. It's also used to transport cargo from the cargo bay to all the different floors, because the Guts can reach basically everywhere in the station. It's better than the elevator. It's just a problem to get into, because you have to go through several rooms to get into the Guts. It's not like you can just jump into the Guts whenever you want to. But
and that was the first place where the cryptids and the nest of them were really littered abound, and I only had so much ammunition in my guns to where some of it I'm like, I've got to blow past you because you're going to take all my bullets.
Yeah, that's definitely a spot to keep moving.
You can throw things at them to distract them because they're attracted to movement. So they don't have any eyes or anything. If you throw things that move, they'll try to chase that stuff. They try to give you that as a hint once you first enter the Guts. You come around a corner and you see an operator flying by you, and then they swarm after the operator because the operator's moving. It's supposed to be like a silent hint at you to be like, hey, if you move around, these things are going to chase you. It also shows you what they do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a
once you're
definite
traveling
teaching.
through the guts, as you mentioned, you finally come across the magnetosphere, and it's malfunctioning. You can presumably just skip past it, except you go down to a tunnel or a door at the end of the tunnel, and it finds out that the key to this tunnel is inside of this guy's pocket. So you have to go find the guy.
Right into the danger. If you have the hacking ability, you can turn it off for a limited amount of time. Otherwise, you've got to get in and out really quick to get his key card before you get fried too.
That's exactly how I did it.
You can also use the hacking to open up another supply panel in there for extra loot. So it really pays if you have the neuromods, because there's not a lot of chances where you're really using the hacking unless you're hacking everything. But sometimes whenever you do hack, it really gives you a big reward, because it's like, oh, now you can unlock this secret stash that you couldn't get into before.
I wanted the information of the emails. I wanted all the hacking abilities so I could read all the interpersonal drama that was going on. I got addicted to it with Danielle's show. She had the most going on.
Yeah, she's busybody.
Characters.
I really like Danielle's show. She hates Alex Yu. She's not very fond of Morgan. She doesn't like going to therapy.
She's recently broken up.
Yeah,
with,
she snapped off on her girlfriend.
Lady.
Yeah, snapped off on her. So yeah, she's got a lot going. She's floating around outside of Talos.
It's very interesting when you come across her. There's a couple of ways you can come across her, just like anything else. You can find an audio log that'll tell you where it's at. There's some emails that you can find that'll like lead you to know where she's going to be. But the only way to actually get her to show herself is if you find her girlfriend, who tells you to come and tap on the thing 3 times.
Yes,
which I think is a really nice thing, because you can meet somebody that is definitely on your side no matter what. Like, you can't even do something against Danielle if you wanted to, because she's on the other side of the glass. She's out in the zero gravity. You'd have to go chase her if you wanted to hit her with your wrench.
Yeah, she's well protected out there from you.
Running out of oxygen, but protected otherwise.
Right. That was what I was just gonna say. I think she was running out of oxygen, and I don't. After you take care of her side question and take care of the cook, I didn't go back and tell her. I don't know if you can or not. If you go back to that window and knock again, will she show up?
I didn't even think of that as an option. I was just under the assumption that she was dead at that point from running out of oxygen.
Yeah, see, that's what I had thought, and I was like, I wonder if I go back and say, is there additional dialogue or not? Thank you for getting him. Blah 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 blah. But I also don't have a way to tell her either without physically being in front of her.
I don't know if you can tell her, but she will figure it out if you have if certain NPCs are dead and can't talk to you instead of Danielle, she will come over the comm and she will thank you for taking care of the cook, even if you have never met her. So in my playthrough, I made sure not to grab the log from Abby, and so I never got the idea to go find out where Danielle was. So I never met her, and once I was to the point where I had to eject the data vaults, she let me know that she knows that the cook was dead, and she thanks me for doing it, even though technically I didn't do it again. He died of negligence.
And there are a few hints that you get of when you see the phony cook, of knowing that's not the cook. Who is this guy? He just enjoys killing other people. And I took him out with a wrench. That was when he was sitting in the escape pod, and I was like, oh, I've got all these. I've got the Q-beam, I've got the shotgun. Just one whack with the wrench.
He duped me.
I went out of my way to get some karmic justice for him, because it's confirmed in the story that he's the reason a couple of these people in the crew quarters are dead, despite the fact that the Typhon are here too. He's responsible. One of the people he kills is Abigail Foy, who is Danielle's ex-girlfriend. You have an ability that you can unlock called Phantom Genesis. Just like the Weavers do, you can create phantoms from corpses. So I found Abigail's corpse, and I rezzed her, and then forced her to come and find the cook who killed her, and made her get her own revenge.
There you go. And that's something you could do, and that's just for you. That makes you
that's
feel
not an
good.
achievement. That's not like a stat they're gonna give me credit for or
Right.
anything like that. I know that Abigail avenged herself. Now maybe it wasn't her because she's like an energy being at that point. Whatever. Karma will say I helped.
Yeah, I agree. And that's another a fun part of the game. It's just, coming up with various ways to possibly break the game as well.
A good example of a couple ways you can get around things is coming up. So once you get to the Arboretum, you're finally in the top of the station. There's a greenhouse. There's dirt, trees. It's like like a biome just on the top of the station that you can kind of come and relax and get a slice of earth, so you don't get cabin fever of just being on this cramped station. Even though a lot of the rooms are huge and open, to avoid that, you could still easily go a little stir crazy if you didn't have the ability to see some trees and touch grass, literally.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, nice. It's got this space station's got a great floor plan. It's huge, and there's huge windows that let the natural sunlight in too. I was in a escape pod bay, and it was pitch black, and I was fighting a phantom, and then all of a sudden, because the station's still turning, the sun comes over and it lit the whole room. I was like, wow, that was really convenient, because if I would have, that was environment, and
and it's
I
something
really
natural
appreciate
too,
that.
because the game is very mechanical. Like, the station is orbiting Earth, and the station is spinning while it's orbiting Earth. So occasionally there'll be points where you're facing away from the Earth and the sun, and it'll be kind of dark. But
Yep.
eventually, since the station is actually moving, and it's on a timer, like if you pull out your transcribe, you can get the station time. Everything in the station happens on a kind of a schedule. Not a lot of things are based on that timer, but everything in the station is happening, like, in air quotes, real time. So
Yeah.
the station takes this amount of minutes to fully rotate. It'll take this amount of hours to rotate this way. So if you just keep tracking of the time, you can know which way the station's going to be rotating. Nothing you have to pay attention to. It doesn't matter at all for the gameplay. But the fact that they paid attention to that and gave you a real circumstance where, oh, it's dark. Oh, nope, here comes the sun because the station's rotating back into view of it.
Yeah, and that's why I like the Arboretum. I think that's probably my favorite area of the whole game. It's just this huge room you can just jump around in. It tries to have a natural feeling where they're recreating Earth. I also find it extremely telling that Alex Yu's office is dead center, and it's a huge house.
Oh, right, absolutely.
So
I got the fake out of the confrontation with Alex a few times. He's still hiding from you when you get to his office, his cabin, his quarters. You're able to get to, and it was just put off for so long. Where I'm like, all right, here's the end, and I thought I was right at the end last night, and it was a heck of a story twist of mercenaries coming to get us, and I didn't think I was going to finish the story when the mercenaries showed up. I'm like, how much is left? But I picked it up in between doing my live stream and this stream here, and within about 90 minutes I was able to actually get an ending, and because I was using the wrong weapons.
I
The
understand.
stun gun you get.
Yeah.
I actually recycled a bunch of the stun gun ammo because I was like, I'm not using this. I'm never going to use this. But when the mercenaries come with their robot lasers on them, that stun gun, I was kind of fucked at some point. I'm like, well, I've got the Q beam. We'll slow down time and we'll use the Q beam, since this very useful weapon against these robots, I've got very limited ammo now.
Yep, and I did the same thing to myself. I burned things I early on recycling that I ended up wanting to have later in the game. I did not abandon the stun gun though, because I was like, this thing shoots electricity. I'm gonna need it. I think I showed Annie my inventory. I kept there was one of every gun, and like 2 boxes of ammo for the 9mm, 2 boxes. I was pretty stacked. And
took me a while to realize, I should pick up all these other wrenches and all these other Q beams and recycle those because I needed minerals for the most part because of all the bullets that I kept synthesizing. And
I ran into the same problem for the same reason.
That's the reason I use the wrench so often is it really conserves on bullets. I try to only use the gun whenever I feel like I don't want to use a health pack right now, or if other circumstances, like I have to weigh the option. Do I want to burn through 5 or 8 shotgun rounds, or do I want to just take some health and eat a health pack?
And the glue gun. I had a whole lot of glue gun ammo. That was something I was concerned about. But yeah, now knowing how much you get throughout the game, that's something that I can utilize more with the gluing and the enemies, and then hitting them with a wrench, and hacking the mercenaries. If you the mercenary robots hurt them very bad, you can hack them, and then they're using their lasers on your side. That was very convenient there at the end, and it was quite a twist. Who sent the mercenaries in? It is above the head of the U's. You'd think they're in charge, but no, Mom and Dad, they gave the okay, kill everyone on the station.
Yeah.
Despite all the contingencies and all the plans, word still did get out that things are not going, just based on the fact that communication doesn't look like it's supposed to. Word has gotten out that Talos 1 is, something's going on. We need to send a cleanup crew.
Yeah.
So clean everything up, including our kids. No survivors.
Right. Like, yeah, no, it was cold-blooded. And there's options you get with him too, that the shuttle pilot, I keep wanting to call him Robert Dahl, but that's not his first name.
Walter.
Walter.
Yes, I mentioned Wiggy Ingwe. If he's not alive, he can't do the surgery. You knocking out Dahl and taking the neuromods out and convincing him you need to help us get back to Earth. And that's when I was like, oh, hooray! Thank God I safe scummed that annoying guy Wiggy into not dying into the vacuum of space. It was a hilarious cry. What are you doing to me?
Yeah, exactly. And I like that. That's why this game is so great. The way the layers fall together based on your choices later on, it does feel like you're affecting change in the game based on what you decide to do.
It's a bunch of active choices too, because it's not like there's like a dialogue tree. Hey, which sentence do you want to say? No, Morgan doesn't talk. Everything you do is your choices based on your actions.
Right, and that's very cool. What were you going to say?
Without that save scum of helping out Wiggy and keeping him alive, that shuttle, like, that was such an epiphany. He's going to shuttle us off Earth. I can save these people that I met.
Yeah.
And I got a few of them out of there. It wasn't a full flight on the shuttle, but some of them got out with me.
Oh, good. They got out with you. Oh.
Okay. We were going to get into your ending, but that's a nice peek into it. Okay. So I'm going to keep blasting through the story. You guys just jump in whenever you want to. You get to the Arboretum, and your goal is to get into deep storage to get your arming key. You can do a couple of things while you're here. You can go check out a little bit of crew quarters, but it turns out crew quarters is locked, so you need to get a card key. And the middle of the room is Alex's office / lodge, and you can go in there and explore a couple of things. And earlier in the game, which we haven't mentioned, you are contacted by another operator under the name of December, who is presumably an earlier model of January, who, instead of telling you to blow up the station, recommends that you get a key card to get off the station. They tell you to meet them in the Neuromods lobby, and you can choose to do that, and if you do, you will meet up with December just as January is executing December. January says that it's a rogue model, and it's likely defective, and you can't trust anyone except for yourself and me, because yourself said trust me. So, it immediately puts in a conflict of, well, that was me too, and me was telling me to do this, so who do I trust now? Do I trust December? Do I trust January? Do I trust me? Do I trust Alex? there's a lot of, because you don't know who Morgan is, and you still don't really know who they were, it's hard for you, the player, to make a decision that isn't your decision. So you need to make choices because you don't have any information. You still have to make these choices. You can save December by killing January, or you can let January kill December and just move on with the story. December will give you a key card to the story, or to give you a key card to Alex's safe, where it's presumed that the escape pod key will be. Once you finally get to deep storage, you can go get into his safe, or into Arboretum, and get into his safe, and it'll play another message where it's a different past version of you saying, the only option is to escape. It's going to get to the point where it's so bad that the only option is to run. And it's contradictory to whatever the voice message that was playing in your office is saying, where you have to blow up the station. So now you have 2 endings to go for. You can either just say screw it and get off the station, or you can continue with what you have been and trying to blow up the station. You now get this information, and you have to still get into crew quarters to get this key card, so no matter what, you still need to get into crew quarters. So you go back to going to deep storage, you go down there, and you find a man right outside the deep storage lock who has the crew quarters key card, and also a transcribe that gives you a quest letting you know that the lock to deep storage is locked behind Danielle's voice. She put like a special voice lock on it. You either need to have her there to speak the password, or you need to somehow figure out the voice, or you need to synthesize her voice and speak the phrase that the door tells you to. Having no choice to now, you have to go to crew quarters to get Danielle's information. We've been talking up until now a lot about crew quarters because it is a huge part of the game for the sub-story of what's going on between Danielle, the people on the station, the Typhon battling the cook. You can see a little bit of this footage here on the screen actually now. I've been running around in the crew quarters for a while. Your goal here is to find voice samples of Danielle to synthesize her voice, or you can find her directly. If you check one of the computer terminals, it'll let you know that she is still alive, so you can try to go track her. Once you are able to find her, you can either find her without finding any of the voice logs, and she will let you know what the secret password is to get in the door, because you haven't found any of the voice logs, and she assumes you need to get in there now, so she gives you the master override password. Otherwise, if you didn't meet Danielle, and you have gotten the voice samples up until now, you will come up with a way to just synthesize it, as I've said. I do actually have the clip of, once you do all of this, getting into the thing. Let me see. Here it is. This is the secret, her override voice. Skip it up. There we go. Come on. And that's her master override to get into deep storage. And you can only find that if you find Danielle first, and she gives you it. And it's interesting because if you play the transcribed version, it sounds like AI making a voice synth of her. But if you play this voice message, you can hear her inhaling, struggling for breath as she's giving you this voice command. I think it's another really nice touch, that even if you don't feel like going around picking up a bunch of little transcribes, there's still another way into this door. Just another example of, well, you can find another way if you really try.
Yeah, it's definitely a game that challenges you to think outside the box, which is great. I really appreciate how the game teaches you.
So once you get into deep storage, finally, you immediately get locked down. Alex contacts you, and he's like, okay, you've gone far enough. You're actually kind of worrying me now. I told you to stay in your office. I've been kind of just talking to you lightly, and kind of keep you busy, but you're too far, locking you in here. So even if you get your key, you're not getting out. You're not getting to blow up the station. Afterwards, you're shortly contacted by January, who will let you know that your key is in there, and all you have to do is kind of just go and plug it in. Once you find the hard drive that your key is put into, you mount the drive, you plug it in, and now you have your fabrication for your arming key. Problem is, you're still locked down. and you don't really have a way to get out of here. So, you are contacted now by a couple of different NPCs that have an option to talk to you here, to suggest to you what to do. It's most commonly just going to be Danielle, because it's her terminal. She will let you know and let you, if you have resolved the situation with the cook, she'll kind of talk to you about what's going on with that. She'll let you know, and she will expose a utility on her terminal that will allow you to jettison one of the data vaults. So even though the rest of the station is locked down, this is like an emergency override to blow open a hole into the station where you can come out of. So you get into the data vault, you eject yourself, and now it's one of the few times you get like an actual cutscene. It's like only like a second, but you press the button inside of the data vault, and then one of the hard drives on the ground falls and hits you in the head, and you get knocked out for a second as the loading screen rolls. Weird. There's no way to avoid it. You always are going to get hit by that. Like, you can foam bolt it, you can use remote manipulation, whatever. It doesn't matter. If you hit that button, you just go into a mini cutscene.
Yeah, you get crushed by the computer. It's like, oh, and then you're floating out in space. It's pretty crazy. It's another one of those moments where you're just like, oh man, what's gonna happen?
You're floating around for a couple of seconds before you're contacted by the chief security officer, Sarah Elazar, who lets you know, hey, a giant hole just exploded in cargo bay, so you can probably come in through this giant hole that exists now. So you fly down to cargo bay because you kind of exited near the top of the station, not at the top, but near it. You fly all the way down to the bottom towards the cargo bay, and you hop in there. This is a really cool scene, as Dylan's mentioned. You first meet up with Dr. Igwe here. He's floating out in a cargo container that has violently launched out of the cargo bay and is kind of just floating out there. Once he contacts you, you're given a sort of time limit on how long, because he only has a certain amount of oxygen before he just suffocates in there. He gives you a time limit to save him, and you can operate the hangar controls to retrieve the cargo container he's in, and then dock it safely with the station so he can go into it with a nice airlock seal. Or you can kill him if you want.
I think
on audio.
Sarah wants you to, kind of, sort of. She doesn't like him very much, and she lets it be known in the cargo bay.
Dumb luck,
yeah,
is what they call it. He has survived just out of pure dumb luck.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I think the cargo bay area, that's one of my favorite staging, because you when you're in the cargo, you get a lot of story pushed on you, because it's not an exposition dump, but Sarah and the doc have conversation, then she talks to you. There's Typhon in the other room right outside of the cargo bay, and that's you get your next objective from her. She wants you to go retrieve turrets. And
yeah, it's the first time you meet a group of non-hostile people. Like in the cafeteria, you met a bunch of people, but all of them were trying to suicide bomb you. One of them was trying to cook and eat you. And then in the power plant, you meet a crippled lady, and then you're meeting like one person at a time. This is the first time you meet a group of people who are all like, "Hey, can you help save us, please?"
Yeah,
and this is the first time their lives are directly in your hands. As you mentioned, she tells you to go find the fabricator turrets, or find the fabricator turret plan and fabricate your turrets. Something I find really interesting about the cargo bay is there's just enough of the turrets hidden around it that if you go and look and put all of the turrets in there, you don't have to go out and find the fabricator, and you don't have to fabricate them if you don't want to. There is a bunch of ways to proceed past this. This is one of my roadblocks in my personal playthrough here, because I was trying to make sure that everybody in the cargo bay died, but it wasn't my fault. So I was trying to make sure that I got the right amount of turrets, but none of them were set up, and I was trying to get the code to the door, but not open it too soon, because then they'll think I'm a traitor. Right. I'm tiptoeing around them, making them think I'm on their side, until I open the door with all the turrets already turned off, and then they just swarm in there and kill everybody. That was how I ended it in my second and third playthrough. In my first playthrough, there is a challenge / achievement for you to save everybody in the cargo bay. So I set up my trap, I get everything ready, I open up the cargo bay, I throw a Typhon Lure. A Typhon Lure is like a grenade that tracks enemies. It's pretty self-explanatory. I throw a couple of Null Waves to disactivate all of their psychotronics, and then I just launch repeated recycler charges until everything is dead. I think I ended the conflict in like less than 30 seconds.
See, and what you're showing, they didn't get in your way. I set up the turrets, I opened the door, and I started blasting with the Q-beam, and I forget which idiot it was. I want to say it was Austin, but I'm not sure. Ran right in front of me, right into the Q-beam, and then all of a sudden I'm getting shot from behind. Well, I got Typhon in front of me. Yeah, because the dude, I didn't kill him on purpose. He walked into the bullet. What do you want me to do? But that's where another spots where I was just like, nah. I was like, I'm reloading from my last save. I'm not taking that. That's not a loss I'm going to take, Mr. Toeman.
That's a good reference.
But yeah, that was. But it's a moment. It's one of those moments where you're like, I can help this group of people. Dylan was trying to save them all. I'm curious to find out as we get further down the line how many he actually saved. I did the same. I sympathetic, man. I was like, I'm not gonna. There's no soldier left behind. So I looked for all the corpses, and I tried to get everybody to cargo. And yeah, it was a good moment and a lot of loot.
All those people who were mind controlled that you just tasered down, they're done. They didn't make it to the shuttle.
Yeah, exactly. The prisoner didn't make it to the shuttle.
In
like you were saying, their heads explode.
He is in my in one of the playthroughs where I left on the shuttle. He is in the shuttle. I think he's one of the few people that is in the shuttle with you, the Aaron Ingram guy.
Yeah. Okay.
So if you don't kill him, yeah.
Okay. I didn't look to see who made it.
I think maybe because you tased him, he wasn't able to make it there. But if you leave him untased, I think he does make it into the shuttle with you.
Yeah,
I'll have to go back to my last save and see how many I saved because I was in a hurry to get to the ending and get here to talk about it.
I agree.
I saw Kayla there and I saw Wiggy there, and of course the mercenary that we trick into helping us rather than killing us all as his orders are from mom and dad.
I was proud of that moment too. It's like you knock him unconscious and take him down, strap him in, and you remove that protocol from his neuromod has that protocol in it. And he's like, "What am I doing here? Why am I locked down? What's going on here? Like, we need you to fly a plane or a shuttle. Can you do it?" Like, yeah. So he becomes real amenable after trying to destroy everybody.
Well, having your memory wiped, puts you in a very vulnerable position. Yeah. His memory is wiped to like a couple of hours ago, so he doesn't know anything that's going on in the station. He's like, I was about to get briefed on my mission. What's my mission? It's like, okay, this is the briefing. Get those the fuck out of here.
Yeah, and he's...
And you look like shit. Morgan, you look like shit.
Yeah, that's right. He's like, wow, you look, what the fuck? Yeah, so that was a good moment too. Yeah, exactly. So after the cargo bay,
you finally get back in through life support. You get in through life support since you're back into the station, but the whole station is still locked down. So now you're contacted by basically whoever's left to let you know. Whoever's left that's also the most qualified will come in and tell you, hey, you can do this reboot procedure. You just got to go down into the reactor, flip some switches, and do whatever. I mean, I hope it'll come back on, but if you reboot it, it'll reset the security protocol, and the station will be wide open for you, just like it was before Alex locked it down like a jerk. So your only option now is to go through the station with the lockdown, which is nearly impossible, or go release the lockdown. The lockdown is basically the next story step, so you kind of have to. It's not really a choice.
Right.
But you go to the reactor, you go through the steps to reset it, and while you're here, if you have your armoring key, you can decide to plug it into the reactor, because this is where you'll end up blowing up the station later on. You still don't have Alex's key because he keeps hiding it from you, so you're going to have to get that at some point and come back, or you can forge them both at the same time and bring them, but it's one less thing for you to hold on to. So, might as well plug it in now. You reset the power and do all of that. The station comes back online, and Alex says, okay, whatever, I guess I'm stepping out of your way. I clearly can't stop you, even if I think I can. So might as well join up with me and we'll finish this together. Which you can choose to, believe Alex or believe it's another last-ditch effort for him to try to control you. But either way, Alex says, all right, come on up and we'll meet. So you go up and meet with him, and surprise, surprise, he's not there. He lets you know, hey, there's basically one more plan that I have and one more thing I need you to know. Everything I've been doing is what you told me to do. You came up with this plan to develop a prototype null wave, which is like a grenade that turns off the Typhon for a little bit. You developed a prototype null wave to save the station by wiping out the Typhon, but not the research in the station and the people. So that's what you told me to do, and that's what I've been trying to do. That's why I hid your arming key. That's why I've been hiding information from you. And again, you as the player have the choice to believe him. You can choose that you believe it or not. So Alex says, look, just go and verify it for yourself, and he gives you a upgrade to your scope so you can go scan essentially the mind of the coral, which is the golden crap you see floating all throughout the gameplay I've been playing. All the golden little spiderweb stuff is called the coral.
And it grows
essentially
as you go. Like
yeah, it gets bigger, spreads. Yeah, the more weavers there are, the faster it spreads. So it's getting worse and worse. Even though we don't know what it is or what it does, and it seems kind of harmless, it's everywhere now. You go and scan the heart of it outside the station, and as you're doing that, Alex lets you know, hey, there's been a launch from the Argus platform, which is another station nearby, and don't want to alarm you, but somebody else is on their way here. So somebody probably knows what's going on. Just want you to know that. You get back into the station, and your goal is to now go upload all the data of the scanned stuff that you find, and it lets you know basically what the Typhon are doing. They're trying to collect consciousness and build it into a semi-physical form and whatever. It's a very confusing plan because they still don't know. Morgan and Alex are still just guessing even at the end of the story. You go and upload the scan data, and as you're uploading it, the scan is cut short by Casper. And the whole station essentially goes on lockdown again, but from an outside source, something Alex doesn't even have control of. You get a message over the intercom or the transcribe saying Walter Dahl is here. He's been sent by William Yu. He's been sent by William Yu to bye-bye, everyone. Everything's going bye-bye.
That's probably the coldest transcribe in the whole game, is the one that you hear from your father to Walter Dahl.
Yep. After this, Alex lets you know that you need to go find his agent Casper, who is now hacked to the entire station, and go take this agent out, because otherwise you have no control of the station. This is an interesting part because every time I've played the game, Casper's been in a different location. Oh. I don't know what choices I'm making to tell the game to put Casper in different places. The only choice that I know for sure is that everyone in the entire station is still alive, that you made sure that everyone has survived, including the cook. Casper will be outside the station and cut off life support to the entire station. So if you don't go outside and kill Casper, it literally will kill everyone in the station.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
So you go into Walter's shuttle, which is parked in the shuttle bay now. If you haven't been there, perfect chance to explore it. It's the best time for it, and probably one of your last chances.
Getting to that shuttle frustrated the hell out of me. There was a lot of problem solving that I thought I was at the in the end of the game, and we have this last beat of the mercenaries that I'm like, internet. How do I get to the shuttle? I cheated the shit out of how. It's all the way up there. Where do I go? Okay, it's over here. The elevators aren't working. I'm just gonna glue gun some stairs up there because I'm trying to be done with this.
Right.
We haven't even touched on that. The glue gun is such a great tool that it's a weapon, it's a tool, and it's also a platform gun. You can shoot your own platforms.
I love it because it incapacitates anything you cover with it. That was another weapon I wanted to max out early. I didn't quite, but I got the incapacitation rate all the way up. and just to watch a phantom go like, and then you can just walk up and start whapping them with a wrench if you want. I take Dylan's approach. You walk up with the shotgun, you point it right in their face, and you go, and they just go, and one shot, and it feels so good.
Oh, absolutely. The shotgun packs so much punch. All the weapons feel like they do their job well. Like, even the shitty little pistol, it has its use. It's great against mimics. It shoots little explosives. It's your longest range weapon. Like, it doesn't pack that much of a punch, but it's so useful because it's just a gun.
Yeah, you said shitty. I'm like, no way. I love that thing. That's probably... I probably use that more than the shotgun, only because I like the way it sounded, and like you said, it's got range. I'll sit in the corner, just pop, 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 pop. Yeah, and you get the golden one in a side quest if you're a lucky boy or girl. It doesn't. I would. That's why I kept 2 boxes of bullets. When I finally had like 27 in the clip, I'm just like, pop, 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 pop. It's so easy to just drop a clip in anything, especially the specialized phantoms. At a certain point, it was just run and gun this afternoon. And, the shuttle bay is a fun little area. Dahl tries to trick you. He sends you a transcribe of somebody who's trapped in another room. And me being the sweetheart of a guy that I am, I'm going to go save Mr. Whoever that I forget his name now. But then it's just
Luther
operators. Yeah, yes. And then there's just operators coming at you in a barrage. Literally like 5 or 6 of them are trying to beam you at the same time. And I glued up the operator dispenser because they just keep coming. Like there was no limit.
You can do
just
that?
It works for about a minute and a half.
Oh my god, I have all this time. I have 170 hours and I've never thought to glue the dispenser.
Because the first time I tried to dispense a medical operator, there was like a tape drive in the way. And it was like, oh, obstruction, move the thing out of the way so we can dispense this operator. So that was like I was like, F these guys, dude. I was so angry because I was like, oh, survive the what's it? It's not sabotage, ambush. Survive the ambush that dude just put on you. And I barely did. Barely.
Is there a glass? Is that just a trap? Is there no glass to save?
There's nobody there. It's straight up. He leads you to a room with an operator dispenser, and it just tries to murder you.
They use the same technology that you use for Danielle, but since it's like military grade, they're able to synthesize his voice perfectly. If you have already been in the trauma center, you could have already found Luther Glass. He's the guy that's kind of on the active autopsy table. And so if you have already met that corpse, then you will like know, oh wait, no, that was a corpse I met there. I know Luther Glass. It has to be like a trick. But if you didn't pay enough attention, like you can get like Dylan, where it's just like, oh, hold on, somebody's asking for help. Let me go help.
Now see, I know he's on the table. I walked up to him like a dozen times, and it didn't click. I was like, what's going on? So I wanted to see, it's like, screw it. I ran down there, and so here's probably the meta for that, is if you got level 2 or 3 leverage, take a big-ass cargo thing and stick it in front of the operator, and I'm pretty sure it should keep them away from you.
It might negate the encounter. That's a really smart idea.
Dude, I hated those things. So that was the worst. That made the game not fun. That was the only time I felt the game wasn't fun, was when a technopath had 2 of those shooting 2 lasers at me, and I'm running around like, I'm trying to that was one of the few times I'm using suit patches and health kits. I had 50 of each. I was down to like 38 after certain encounters. Like, you got... I was so mad.
The game has a huge difficulty curve. It can be simple, like you're just fighting a couple of mimics, and then you walk into a room, like you said, and it's a technopath with a bunch of operators and turrets all shooting at you at the same time, and it's like, everything was easy 2 minutes ago. Yeah,
it gets a little overwhelming. Yeah, similar to you.
I was having fun at that point, killing all of the Typhons. Once we've got the robot lasers coming at us, I was same thing. It stopped being fun for me. I was having fun at that point, killing all the different type of Typhons and being very overpowered finally, rather than underpowered, or at least powered.
Yeah,
and I got so fucking frustrated with the laser robots coming after me.
I think it is also because of our time frame. We put ourselves into a bit of a procrastination state, and because I was doing the same thing. I was like, I got to get at least one of what I think is the true ending.
You
Before
and I and there's just so many side missions. I would have finished
Wrapped
this up last night, but there is just a plethora of side missions that I can still go back to a previous save and finish up.
I know I missed two.
And I was like, I'm there. I'm at the end. So let me fiddle fuck around getting all these other side quests done. What?
Yeah, and then
mercenaries.
That's what I mean. I was like, oh shit.
And we are pretty close to the end of the game. After Walter sends in his drones, you have to go take out Casper. So wherever Casper is, you have to go find him. He can be in the hardware lab, psychotronics. He can be in crew quarters. He can be outside the station. I've never seen him in the lobby, but I'm sure he could probably be in there too. I don't know. But you have to go find Casper and deal with him. Just a simple powered up operator that once you kill it, it restores function to the station, or Alex has function back to the station. Because Walter wasn't hacking the station, it was his operator, Casper. That specifically is like an infiltration unit. So, it had the command codes for the whole station. So you destroy that, and now Alex has control of it, but Walter has now found Alex's location. So he lets you know that you need to come help him, and you can, decide to, because, again, it's up to you. Do you trust Alex? Go help him. You find him back in the Arboretum. Right outside of his office, on the back half of it, there's like a secret bunker in the wall that Walter is trying to hack into. He's got a couple of operators there protecting him as he's hacking in the door. You get a 2-minute timer as soon as you come up into the Arboretum to either wait it out or stop Walter. If you have... as you both have mentioned up until this point, if Dr. Igwe is still alive with you, he will have given you a suggestion to incapacitate Dahl instead of killing him. And if you can incapacitate him, maybe you can find a way to get off the station. So you can either decide to kill or incapacitate Dahl, or third option is just let him open up the thing to Alex and get to Alex. So, however you decide to get to this point, Alex will come out eventually, and you will meet up with Alex, and he will give you the prototype null wave fabrication. He will give you the fabrication for his key, and he will give you a copy of his key right in his hand. He's also got a couple of other things, but none of it's important. Even though one of it is a story object, there is no quest tied to that object. It's just a thing. It's just nice to have, I guess. Once you do that, though, the end game kind of triggers where
the
Alex,
Super Typhon, the
Apex Typhon. Alex had mentioned that there is a tripwire in the coral, and that it sent a signal to someone, somewhere, something, and it might be coming. So as soon as Alex hands you over the key, or if you take it off his body, you will the Apex Typhon will come and it'll cloud up the sky, which I guess all the space around the Typhon or around the Talos 1 station, blocking off most exits. Some places are now inaccessible, and there's giant snake-like Typhons being shot out of the wall at you that just do radiation damage. Not a whole lot, but it's kind of annoying. So a whole station's just kind of in apocalypse mode. If both of those people were still alive at this point, you have to make sure to save Walter and Alex. You need to save Alex by putting him back in his little safe bunker thingy. While you're in there, there's a couple of important things. The last transcribe on the station from you to you. It is the transcribe that Alex hid from you before the beginning of the game that was to tell you to fabricate the null wave and do that ending. So you have 3 Morgans telling you 3 things. Morgan saying run away, Morgan saying blow it up, and Morgan saying save it. So you now have 3 Morgans, 3 choices to what do I do? And it's all up to you. If you're going to blow up the station now, you need to go all the way back down to the reactor and put in Alex's key and set it up to blow up. And if you're going to activate the null wave, you need to fabricate it and then go to the heart of the coral, which, as we mentioned, is inside of the psychotronics. It's at the little Russian space shuttle thingy, or satellite. Once you put that there, you can do both. Like, if you have the time and the will to, you can set up both. You can set up the null wave and the key to prime, so you have the choice at the very end to make one or the other.
That's where my last save is.
So you have both. You have both prepped.
Yes.
So
I got a question about that later.
I'm gonna get into something really interesting about it right now. I have, as I mentioned, beaten this game now 10 times, and I have figured out a way to get a safe, good ending that no matter what could be argued as canon. So at the end of the game, as I mentioned, once you pick up the arming key from Alex, it'll summon the Typhon and it'll like lock up the station. If you do not pick up his arming key, it won't summon the Apex Typhon. If you pick up the fabrication plan and the other fabrication plan, but just leave the key on his corpse or his hand, never take it from him, you won't summon the Apex Typhon. And you'll still be able to move around the station completely freely. There'll still be operators left over from Casper, but you can move around the station freely. And I think it's the only example I have of an oversight. I think it's just a missed trigger, because I think after you leave the Arboretum, no matter what, they should trigger the Apex Typhon. But like I said, at this point, if you do this, there is no Apex. So you get all the way down there, you set up everything, and you get to the bridge. And even on the bridge where you can see the camera of the station, there is no Apex.
I think there's a different trigger on my Xbox. Alex did not hand me anything once the Apex came out. I had to pull them all off of his corpse.
Yeah, there's like I said, there's a couple of different things. Either you can get it from his hand, you can get it from his corpse, or you can get it from his body once the station gets depressurized. It's all about choices at the end. So there's some things that I didn't know about, even like I said, 10 playthroughs in. So I have like this hidden ending that I'm knowing about.
Maybe it is.
So I'm in the bridge, and I have the option to either blow it up or to use the null wave. Curiously, if I use either of them, it'll end the game like normal, and it'll show the cutscene, and there will be an Apex, even though I never summoned the Apex. So it's a sort of like glitch ending, but it's like a soft good ending, because no matter which choice you made, you still, I guess, made the right choice. But there was no Apex, there was nothing to destroy. So it's a very interesting ending that is just a side tangent. It's not like really important, but I wouldn't even consider it like a real ending, because the Apex is part of the actual end.
Okay. Real quick, because I want to pick Dylan's brain. I didn't get anything from Alex either before the Apex Typhon showed up. He was reaching for the key card. We were talking, and then something happened.
Maybe I'm misremembering then.
Or it could just be a revision in the PC version versus PlayStation or Xbox. I don't know.
Yeah, I was doing the Xbox version. So I think that there might be something different in the PC version.
I think I'm honestly just misremembering, because I think it's what Sperg is saying. He's trying to hand it to you, and then it happens.
Yeah, he's like, oh, what's that? And then you guys both look over, and the shit just opens up out of the... I was going to say sky, but it's space. It just comes out of a wormhole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just starts devouring the entirety of Talos 1.
And yeah, I just take that stuff off of Alex's body and start making my way down. I think there was an extra stop to make the null wave in.
Yes.
So I was like, I'm not making that extra stop. I'm just blowing up the station, and I got a mission fail for saving Alex. I was like, I didn't even realize that was an option.
Yeah, if you drag him inside of his little safe room, and then go out there and close the door, you can lock him in his bunker, which has its own environment, so you can save him. Same with Dahl. Once you incapacitate him, you have to take him downstairs into the medical bay and put him in the medical bay so Igwe can come and get him in a minute.
See, I got away from that. I just left him I glued him to the floor, and Igwe went and got him himself.
Oh, okay. I was told by Igwe to put him in the medical bay. So it's interesting that even those subtle differences right there, whether you have to save him and put him in there or just, well, Igwe will take care of him in a minute.
I started dragging him, and I got a mission fail, and then I save scum my way back. Maybe I dragged him over a fire or something, but yeah, I just left him exactly where I tasered him, and Ingwe came and got him.
I shot him the first time because I wanted to see what would happen, and then I saved.
So like Dylan said, now that would be your final stop then, is once Igwe comes to and he has him in the Neuromod division, you head there to do the Neuromod removal to wipe his memory. Walter may have contacted you at this point, letting him know that he got a assortment of combat mods and one special mod right before this thing so that he can come, do his job, do whatever terrorism he needs to do, and then go home, and he doesn't remember. The only question he has to ask is, how did I make this much money? So you use that against him by targeting the one neuromod like 4 hours ago, and then you remove that one right before he got the mission briefing. Igwe pretends to be the physician instead of like a voodoo scientist, and then
pseudo psychologist.
Yeah, so he tricks Walter, and you being there to give it a little bit of legitimacy since Walter Dahl knows your face. He's like, okay, well, if Morgan's saying this, all right, yeah, you are right. This is procedure. Get the executives out of here. Okay, since I don't know what's going on, I'm going to resort to what I do.
He has to follow orders. Yeah, he's going to listen to Morgan no matter what. And I remember Dahl calling Ingwe out. He's like, I know you. I know your face. You're that that pseudo psychologist. He's like, oh, yeah. But he's not. You know, he basically points at me and goes, that's your boss. You got to listen to him. And that's what he was like, all right. Why am I locked up? Like, he was like questioning everything. And that was like a good moment too. It's another one of those little just building block moments that makes it such a fun game. I'm
really glad that both of you went for that option, because you two could have went and just been like, oh, well, I'm just going to kill Dahl and have no chance, or you could have not let Igwe live. It's very specific how you get the shuttle ending. You have to make sure Igwe's on your side and still alive, and you have to make sure Walter didn't get killed and you save him. Then anyone that is still on your side and willing and knows about the shuttle can go and evacuate with you. So it's like,
that's also a good point.
It's probably the best possible good ending is to save as many people as you can, get them on the shuttle, and leave with the shuttle. So I think that's probably like the true good ending.
That's the one I got.
Once you get that done, you get instructed to go to the bridge of Talos. If you haven't been there, this is your first time going there. And you'll go to the bridge, explore around a little bit, and then you'll meet up inside the actual command center of the bridge. And if January's still alive, January will meet you there. And January will question your decisions at this point. January will wonder, okay, if you're going to blow up the station, January tries to encourage you. If you're not going to blow up the station, they kind of lambast you and kind of be like, well, what am I even here for? Like, my directives say you blow up the station, so I'm not letting you do anything except blow up the station. Either blow up the station or kill me. And that's essentially your options at that point, is either you have to go through with blowing it up as you wanted to, or you may have decided to anyway, or you're going to go ahead and activate that prototype null wave. But you're going to have to kill January for it. So if you're going with the strict, true pacifist ending, you can't kill January. So you have to go with the blow up the station option. Fortunately, you have the shuttle, so you have the option to take the shuttle out without killing January. January may decide to self-destruct or die with the station, but you didn't kill January.
I think I got slightly different dialogue where January said, all right, you're leaving with your friends. That's admirable. But I can't allow you to leave. But you can kill me.
I did not get
so
that
she stops you from leaving too? That's great.
She said, I cannot allow you to leave. And then it says, kill me. If you kill me, then I can't stop you from leaving. So I hit her with a wrench to... it was a little bit of a different dialogue of like, you're not allowed to leave. You have to die here. If I'm still alive.
And you had 0 Typhon mods installed, huh?
No Typhon mods.
I wonder if that's weird, because you should be able to leave. You know, like you have no material. Technically you do, but no erroneous Typhon material and
Nothing
to
active.
Teleconnect.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't even think about going to kill January. What I do remember is the null wave computer was non-functional. It says hit train.
They're deactivating it.
And I didn't catch that. I was like, why can't I? Because I'm saved right there where you either hit that terminal or turn around and go to the launch key. And I ran and turned around to the launch key because I was like, I want to see what happens when I destroy Talos. And that led me to the ending I thought was, there was more to it than I realized, but it was what I thought was going on. About halfway through, I started seeing a lot of different things that were putting together an underlying story for me. And I thought that was really interesting as well.
I think it's a really final example of the story giving you choice up until the end. If you did everything up until you are given two final choices, you think. You either activate the null wave and nullify the Typhon, and that's pretty much it. Or you go and blow up the station. So if you go up there and you hit the station button, instead of being just one choice, now you have three choices that you didn't know you had just a second ago. You can either sit down and die with the station. You can, if you have already up until this point interacted with December, you can go get that escape pod that Alex has. Or you can go with the shuttle that you spent this time getting Walter to unknowingly fly you out of. So now you have three options you have like five options now instead of just the two options. You have nullify or escape or die. So even then you have secret choices, and it's a great because you only have those choices if you led up to them. Like if you never got the null wave, you don't have that choice. If you never if you never saved Igwe, you don't have the shuttle option. If you never grabbed that key, your only option is just blow up the station and die. So it really rewards you for exploring your other options. So once the counter starts, you now have the final time of the game. You have an actual hard time limit to get off the station before the game ends. You can do a couple of things. The timer's mostly in real time, except for in load screens and pause screens. So you have about 8 minutes to get off the station. So that's plenty of time to make your choices.
And I think you can destroy the station. I don't think you have to jump off the shuttle either. I think you can kill yourself and the shuttle will take off on its. I haven't tried it yet.
They'll take off without you, yes.
Yeah, I thought so. And that's the self-sacrificing ending. And I didn't, like I said, I didn't activate the null wave yet, so I don't know that ending. I don't know what happens. But I do know what happens leading up to that and then after the credits. All right, well, we're approaching 3 hours, so we'll just get into it right now. This is officially kind of the end of the game. Once you hit one of these two buttons, it's the end of the game. So once you made your choice, go ahead. The first ending that I got was, and this was like halfway through the game. I didn't get anywhere else. I got Alex's shuttle, his escape pod, and I got in that, and it was just like, I can't believe you did this. It's like you just abandoned everything.
Like, all of this, and you're quitting.
Yeah, yeah. He was like,
yeah, okay.
Yeah, I love it. So I knew it because it was a setup in the game. Like they tell you can end it right here, and as a gamer, I know that's not
too good to be true. Yeah, that's not the right ending.
Right, and so like and me and Dylan kind of did the same thing. We tried to save as many non-Typhon entities as possible, and I got on the shuttle and saved myself, and I was kind of happy with how the ending went. I'm glad I stuck around post credits and didn't hit like enter or escape or just walk away. There's a nice reveal after that.
So both of you, your ending was blow up the station, escape on the shuttle.
Yeah, that was pretty much my choices.
Yeah, that was both of ours, and I do have to go back to my last save. I saw that the credits has the scene where the outbreak happens.
Yeah,
they're in the main lobby, and I want to go back to my very last save and see exactly who's there with me. I don't know if Walter Goggins made it there, the prisoner, or not. He was still alive when I last saw him, and yeah, I want to see that whole thing play out. I didn't get to see that whole thing play out before rushing here and finally getting through the ending of the game.
Yeah, that lore is what I want to explore more of. I want to see how the outbreak happened and who was responsible. There's
Absolutely.
little bits and pieces.
There's so much backstory that, like, I feel like if this game had a prequel, it'd be perfect. Just like, not even necessarily prequel, just like a side game. What's happening from not Morgan's perspective on the station?
Right, like Blue Shift in Half-Life. You get to play as one of the cops and get to see it from a different
that would be a really
angle.
good idea. Unfortunately, this series will probably never get another touch on it unless somebody really high up with a lot of money decides to nab on it. But
write an email to Todd
nonetheless,
Howard. He'll get on it.
it's a masterpiece as it is. So after all said and done, you roll the credits and you watch some stuff that's happening as Morgan is sleeping the morning of the simulation. The station's going under attack. Things are going bad. People are running around dying. And, well, you know, it's a fun little credits, but not really anything important to see here. And then this is like the one game that really has like a post-credits scene. Like, it's not like post-credit gameplay, like God of War. The game really starts after you beat the game, and you can go do a bunch of extra stuff afterwards or whatever. But this game, no, it ends, but there's just like a post-credit scene, which is like in like an RPG or a story, wherever, it's like, and this was what happened to this guy, and this what happened to this guy. It's kind of like that. So you wake up in a mysterious location where, let's see if I can just fast forward it to in this video.
Yeah, that was when the credits rolled and that loading screen came up. I was like, "Oh yeah!" I was like,
So
"I knew it.
The loading screen comes up and it looks like some sort of computer failure or whatever, and then you come out of a sort of visor situation, and you're in an unknown location in front of Alex and a group of operators, and it turns out these are the operators of the main characters you've met throughout the game. You have a Michaela Aleutian, you have Dr. Igwe, you have Sarah Elazar, and then you have Daniel Sho. So you have all of these people who have been kind of observing you and helping you, and you've been helping them throughout the story. And they all are kind of sitting here in operator form, giving you a kind of evaluation along with Alex. All of them ask you, or Alex asks them various questions, like, what do you think? And then they will kind of exposition everything that's happened to you. So for here, Michaela's saying, I died. Maybe I could have prevented that. I don't know. And then there's a situation with the prisoner. It let him live, but it didn't help. And then he asks, would you let this guy live? And then she says, yes. So depending on how you interacted with her, her choice could be, no, I don't like that guy. That guy was a fuckhead. And she could say no. But it seems to be some sort of tribunal here, or at least a board, where all of them are having a say, and it seems to be majority rule here. What they're doing isn't exactly revealed to you just yet. They are still kind of going over what choices you've made. Then they flip you around to view the screen that's been sitting behind you, and then Alex reveals to you what Earth looks like today. That it's kind of like the apocalypse. It's coral everywhere. Typhon presumably have made it to Earth and kind of rule Earth now.
Yeah, they already made it. Yep.
You're presumably either on Talos 1 still, or you're on the Argus platform, since that's the only other location that's named in the entire game. Otherwise, you could be on the moon base, but that's not mentioned in the game itself. Then you have, once you've gone through your options here, you are given one final choice in the game. One final choice. If all of the people have deemed you to be good, you are given the option to join them or not. But the question is, who are you? Who is this person that you are now coming out of the simulation out of? Alex explains to you that you are a Typhon prototype. You are the culmination of all the research, the Project Cobalt that has been talked about. Everything on the station has been leading up to putting humans inside of Typhon, the way Typhons have been put inside of humans. So this person that wakes up in the chair is a sort of bridge between the species. Presumably a phantom that has been given and injected with basically Morgan in a serum.
Right.
It's unconfirmed whether Morgan is either A, alive, B, even a real person, or C, just a concept they created as a sort of, okay, you're my sibling, and that's why you have this attachment to me. You love me because family. So even at the end, it still gives you a little bit of mystery. Was Morgan ever real?
Right. No, and it makes you question. I was talking to you while playing this game, and I had been noticing just little things hanging out that didn't seem right. And I knew I was being watched the whole time. Not just by the crew and Alex, but I felt like I was being watched by something else. There are cameras everywhere that are not space station cameras. They're like 8mm 3-lens cameras that are on fixed beams. So they don't move around freely. They're fixed on tracks, and they only stay in certain areas. And only some of them face you as you move. And I'm like, what is going on here? So when I woke up in the chair, I was like, aha, I knew it. They were testing me to see what my morality's like. Because this game throws nothing but that kind of stuff at you. Are you saving the shuttle people? Are you killing yourself? This is the trolley experiment on steroids with other factors thrown in. And what happened was, because I'm a spaz, when I'm sitting in the chair, immediately I'm mousing around. What the fuck? So I looked down and I saw, you could see your hands before he even turns you around to tell you what Earth was. And I was like, oh, that was a big reveal to me. And like you said, your last option, you either kill everybody or don't. And I didn't. Because I saved most everybody, and everybody was being cool about it. They were like, oh yeah, this guy's great. He didn't have to help me. He did. He went back and got my music for me. He didn't even have to do that. And it only leads more questions, really. Even though I felt vindicated, knowing that I was in a simulation, why is you still sitting there, and why are the 4 main people you help out analyzing me the way they are? And you find out you're half-half, kind of. Like they basically imprinted Morgan used mind on a phantom and then judged its morality through the whole thing. So, yeah,
there's
you get a lot of cool
one
playthrough.
super critical transcribe in the game that I feel like, if you are one of those people that can really put together clues and pay attention to things outside of the situation going on, there is a transcribe in Psychotronics. So basically still in the first act of the game. It's on a window, or it's on a table that you can reach through the window. You don't even have to go into the room. You can just grab it right off the ledge of the table through the window. And they talk about a project Cobalt, which is the idea of giving the Typhon mirror neurons, and then one of them asks, well, how would we even know if it worked? Well, we would have to, like, put it through a series of lived experiences. And then Morgan, one of the only times Morgan chimes in on a dialogue that isn't a dialogue to Morgan, Morgan jumps in the conversation and says, whoa, or a simulated one. Well, Dr. Calvino, with the looking glass, and then Alex is like, no, we're done talking about this. We're going to focus on the resources we're making money on right now, and we don't need crazy fantasy projects.
I do remember that transcribe.
That transcribe is super critical to, like, foreshadowing the story as a whole greater, because that lets you know that, well, maybe it wasn't just a pet project. Maybe they did do that crap. And even in the Psychotronics, Alex says, we spent years taking what they can do and putting it into us. And it's not all the way until the end of the game where he says, and we took what we can do into you. Right.
And he says that you're the bridge between the two species. Like that your main character is now the next step in evolution, basically. And they kind of hint at that as well every so often. So yeah, there's a lot of great factors that just add up to a top tier game.
As much as I want to just keep going and going, we've hit the 3-hour mark. So this is definitely the longest episode so far, and I could keep going about this game. I have 180 hours in Prey over like 10 playthroughs, and I still want to go and play another playthrough right now and go do other things that I've been thinking about. Like, at the very end, my goal was to have 0 humans saved, but 0 humans killed. So the maximum, like, negligence playthrough. And even then, I still failed it, and I still saved 2 people somehow. So I need to make sure I go through the game one more time and get that ending I want.
I was trying to talk to you about it earlier. There's a bit of a glitch in IT. There's people in a security vault in IT. If you go in there, it's locked with a key card. And the only way you can get I don't even think you can get the key card.
It's not a glitch.
Right.
I can tell
you
you
have
how to get in there.
No, I investigated that because I was
Okay.
getting angry. There's 2 ways. You either start killing people and I'll ask you to go take care of the rest, or you glue gun the door and then
Glitch
throw a
through it,
recycle.
yeah.
And I couldn't get it to work. I tried it
That's
like
been
3
patched.
times.
That's such outdated information. It was
Oh.
patched years ago.
Okay, that's why
Yeah.
then. Okay. I tried it. I was like, oh, no. And that's exactly what conclusion
You can
I
still
came to. I was
find
like, they
videos
fixed
of people
it.
doing it, so it still seems like it's valid information, but it's so old that it just
No, it's the
not
same
a-
with following
yeah.
any kind of hacking tutorial. It's all
Yep.
it gets outdated a few months later. I just happened to catch it on a wiki, and I just wanted to see what was in the room. You know, I want to know. I got to know.
Yep, it's just
That
a
was
couple.
frustrating the hell out of me too.
It was a
Yeah,
couple of
yeah.
couple of tracking bracelets and some loot. The people
Okay.
who were supposed to be in there ditched their tracking bracelets and they're somewhere else. So
Okay. See, here's the weird thing. When I would stand in front of the door, you would see 4 meters away. And it'd be 5, 6, 7 meters away. Then 5, 4 meters. Like there was somebody. It seemed like there was somebody walking in there, and
it's
I wanted to
floating
know.
around because it's in 0 gravity in there for some reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I got credit for finding them because I got so close. It was just like,
Yeah.
bong, you found them. Okay. And that was like, that's what I spent probably the most time doing. Tracking
Yeah, there's
down
only
dead
a
crew.
couple of places in the station that aren't used except for like specific endings. Like the atmosphere control room isn't used almost at all unless you're doing the genocide run.
Okay.
So it's interesting that it still has replayability even then with different playthroughs. Like you can get into rooms you've never been into before just because you decide to play a different way.
Yeah,
like I said, I do want to wrap up though because we're going
Yeah, I'm
really
sorry.
long. And I do got to hop over to WATP. So we'll just quickly. Thank you so much for joining us this week. This has been an absolute game. I've wanted to talk about this since the beginning of my podcast. This is one of my favorite games ever.
I agree. If you want to do like a follow-up sometime, let me know.
Okay,
Because we didn't really
absolutely.
get into the soundtrack too much, and that was something else I wanted to cover. Mick Gordon did the soundtrack.
Ooh,
There's
fantastic.
some vocals. There's some vocal songs that are on there that are not him, but Mick Gordon is very known for having sick-ass music. He's the Doom guy. He
Right,
made
the
all
Doom
the
guy,
Doom
yep.
music. And I can't remember the other ones offhand right now, but he's a very good musician. And from the opening theme, when you hear that first little guitar lick, it's just like a nice little picking lick, and it goes, oh, like it hits certain notes, and it's just like dread's coming, dude.
I would
appreciate
absolutely love to do a bonus episode of you with this because we could talk about just extra crap forever. But
Yeah,
let's go ahead
yeah,
and get in your plugs. Sperg Snake, where can everybody find you? What you been up to?
At Sperg Snake, on YouTube and Twitter, and Sunday nights is Family Feud. It's the Sperg Family Game Night. And I usually I do music streams. I'll just on a whim most of the time feel like listening to music, and I'll stream it out. And just I try to work around everybody else's podcast. Like if it's 3:00 on a Wednesday or Friday or whatever, nobody's out. That's what's up. I'm just gonna play some music and we're gonna hang out. That's about
Well,
it.
thank you so much. And Dylan, what are you up to lately?
Dylan from somewhere on YouTube. Gonna have to get a Rumble account because they don't like when Sperg and I talk about movies with clips. They've been taken down some episodes, but Tuesday through Thursday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern live. I'm checking out TikTok. I'm doing co-host auditions, and chatting with is coming back in the rotation.
Fantastic.
Something has to replace the review show until we take that somewhere else. So Tuesday through Thursday, Dylan from somewhere, and Twitter now charges you to go live. So that's one less place that I'm live streaming. Been fun trying to navigate this. Catch me Tuesday through Thursday. Dylan from somewhere, YouTube.
All right, and thank you so much for everyone and anyone that joined today. I know we had some streaming problems, so hopefully this goes up good in post, and I hope everyone enjoyed the episode. Until then, we'll see you next time.